are you lovely people? Hey, can you guys hear the intro?
I saw it, dude.
Can you guys hear the songs? Awesome.
All the above today.
Well, this is
right
weird.
Right, yeah. Before we get to all that, right off rip, we're getting kind of a heads up from homeboy Sage saying, "Careful." A lot of people are saying that they're getting a strike for even playing the debate.
Yep. You know, it is what it is. We take that risk, but we're also live on Rumble, so Rumble isn't doing shit because Rumble's cool like that. So YouTube will strike the fuck out of it. I'm going to try to be a little silly about it, maybe make the video a little less, make it more see-through. You know, it's not going to fuck us up, but maybe hopefully it'll mess with the YouTube algorithm. I don't know how this even, like, this is a very important thing for America, and how is somebody going to claim ownership over this debate? Like, this should be, everyone's talking about it. So how can YouTube legally strike you for like the most free speech thing ever is like critiques on a presidential debate? Like, what the fuck, YouTube? What the fuck?
Well, get ready for a already unpopular take. I mean,
it's all about that ad revenue.
Yeah.
Well, that, and look where they, of course, agreed to have the debate itself, you know, where she's 100, her coverage is 100% positive. His is 97% negative. You know, the stack it's always rigged, whatever the case.
ABC stands for always busting chops, right? They're always busting chops, always busting Trump's chops. Is that what's going on?
All of the...
There's new acronyms every election season.
Yeah.
Remember Clinton News Network?
Yeah.
I mean, tell me it ain't. Shit.
ABC.
If the boot fits.
Pull yourself up by its straps.
That one.
The Clintons, I think, are the only ones I can truly say, like, with seething blood in my veins, I hate them. Like, I really, really hate them.
Really?
Oh, I publicly outcry for their execution. Honestly.
Whoa.
Really? I think we just lost our stream right now, actually. Before we even got there. It'd be funny if Adam said that and then his screen goes black. Like Adam?
Yeah.
You just hear the FBI, open up.
No, more like it would be
Janet Reno bust in.
No, you just hear
like,
oh, I wish I fucking had it. I don't feel no ways tired, because it's just Hillary breaking into your house trying to murder you.
Well, now first, that's the thing I had a flashback of, is Adam getting too tapped in back of the head and us being told it was an unfortunate accident and a robbery while he has a gold watch on or something. But secondly, I imagine Janet Reno and a bearded Elian Gonzalez.
She's a handsome woman, Janet Reno. Isn't she a handsome woman?
That is a firm, rugged, handsome woman.
Very handsome woman. Yeah, very thick, solid, you know.
You guys remember back in, like, Joe, you and I were like in middle school. Remember how many chubbies we'd get back in the day watching Janet Reno? The way she'd address the country and say, I'm going to take that boy right out of that family's hands.
I feel like Janet Reno is like the perfect person to carve pumpkins for whatever reason. I feel like she'll get the two eyes and the nose. You know how you got to go in to scoop all the goop out? I just feel like her size, her girth, like in one felt swoop, all the goop comes out. You know, she's just like, I want you on my side for pumpkin carving.
Yeah. I mean, for whatever reason, there's a lot of things synonymous with that woman's face. Now, sorry, Joe, you're more important than me. Talk.
Joe has some beef with Adam too.
Like nowadays,
Joe's got some beef with Adam too. By the way, we did a stream with Joe on Eli Progressive Patriots channel maybe about a month or so ago, and it was so fun. We said, "Hey, come on back for the debates," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming back. I'm coming back with a vengeance. I got some shit for old Adam here."
Receipts, baby, receipts.
Just took notes and did homework.
You did research. You did research. I quit.
So what was the homework in regarding to? What did Adam say last time? Real quick, and then we'll get into the whole debates here.
I asked...
can we get a Rumble link drop? Oh, Sage did request it. Sorry. Go on.
I did ask you guys what was one positive thing that Trump did besides the tax cuts. And Adam had brought up the Abraham Accords, which it was a gesture. It didn't do much for the relations in the Middle East. It signed a deal with UAE, Burma, Sudan, and Morocco tacked on later, agreeing to Israel's sovereignty. So I haven't looked up to it in recent days to see how they're supporting Israel in the war effort and their opinions. But Trump did manage to work in some nepotism there with the Abraham Fund.
Yeah, but everybody
Which,
does.
Every
That's a DC thing right there.
Which he converted OPEC into as a developmental project in that area, but it never got any funding. So even though he put in charge Jared Kushner's college buddy as the CEO of the Abraham Fund, it ultimately did nothing. So
presidents are just born out of gestated nepotism. By the way, the debate has started.
Every criticism about lying and nepotism, I fucking agree with a wholehearted 100%. But Trump is doing it at all-star levels and doesn't care about appearance, apparently.
Do it full, do it right, and make it loud and audacious and be mean about it.
Can't do a wrong thing the right way.
Can we get a visual, Grandmaster Josh?
Yes, the Rumble link is in the chat, by the way. And real quick, before we do this, take 30 seconds. Maybe the man deserves more time. But last time we did a stuck in the middle debate watch through was our good friend Panjo, good friend of the show. Panjo was part of one of the last stuck in the debates we've done about 4 years ago. And as you recently know, in about 5 days, it'll be about a year since good boy Panjo passed away. So I'd like to just not a moment of silence, but just a here for our good friend Panjo. He'd be here. He'd be defending all up on the Harris Biden cock. He'd say it just like that. He'd be like, yeah, I fucking love that dick. Like, he'd be all like gross. He'd be all like super crazy about it. Yeah, dude, I'd suck her cock. You know, he'd say crazy shit like that. So that's a fun aspect that we will all miss about Panjo. He's very open about his beliefs, whether you sided with him or not. He'd tell you straight up, like, yeah, well, okay, I don't like that, but so R.I.P. Panjo. I'm gonna take a shot for him. I got my shot.
Rest in peace, you beautiful motherfucker.
Lack a shot here, but I'm going to give the Jewish star a kiss.
While I'm doing that, here comes up the debate. And I guess we'll get going. Let's see. Watch live. PBS simulcast. Ooh, oh, my God. Dude, this is history. I'm so excited.
It only really dawned on me just now.
Let me do
like, I'm going to see Harris.
I'm expecting a lot better show than Biden put on.
Yeah, that's.
I just hope she doesn't fucking cackle, bro. I'm gonna smash my fucking keyboard.
Oh, we're gonna have to get some cackles. She's been preparing for this a lot.
Trump might be cackling
to advisors. She's been doing mock debates for the past couple weeks at the hotel. He's just been talking to advisors.
All right, let's. We gotta be careful. Ooh, they might have fucking nicked the audio.
No, Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed his debate.
Let me turn that down just a little bit. Hang on one second. Let me. I need to.
Entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate.
This shit just a little bit.
Commercial breaks.
See what I'm doing? Like, can you guys still see it a little bit? Is it fucking with your eyes at all, or no?
Will have 2 minutes to answer.
Is that all right?
No, this is the
I see it.
That's what they'll be seeing.
Made it a little more opaque.
And 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses.
Yeah, opaque's the word for sure.
Number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago.
This is the beginning.
Your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of
not the question about the current state of the economy.
It's too expensive for far too many people.
Say it again.
Was not the question about the current state of the economy for the past 2 years? And she's just jumping right in with, well, here's
what
my plan.
She's going to do. Yeah.
Can I just get
what you'll do? What I'll do if you elect me?
Oh yeah, all right. Just
how's that different than what she can do as the vice president currently?
Because constitutionally wise, the vice president has very little power.
Is Trump going to give Kamala a nickname, or will he address her as the vice president?
I think he's gonna.
I pray to sweet baby Jesus he does.
I wish he would.
I bet
but
he's going to say Comrade Kamala.
Dude, if he does, I think he
he's
loses
working
it.
that one.
If he does, he
Comrade
loses it.
Kamala, the borders are.
He needs to remind people of her position, of her current position, and by saying vice president, like that, okay, you're in office, you're still currently there. If he goes off on his Trump tangents, I think this is his loss. This is his to lose. I do believe. Let's keep going.
She has more to gain here.
We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner.
She does have some cool thoughts on how to help small businesses. So I do give her that. It's like something she just released. There are some, I don't remember off the top of my head. I just remember reading and be like, all right, that's actually a decent thing for, like, Adam, if JB's had this, we might have been in a better place.
Yeah, God willing.
JB's was our smoke shop.
Yeah.
My brother just opened one.
I'm sorry, Joe. Say it again.
My younger brother just opened one in Dunellen, Florida.
Oh yeah, a smoke shop.
Him and his business partner.
They're fucking everywhere, man. They're everywhere. If you have the funds to stock the shop as it needs to be, it really is a good business. But if you're just kind of nitpicking how we were, you're gonna go out in no time. In no time. Okay, here we go. We keep going.
It's
startup small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that.
Yeah, that's why she needs to call it tariffs.
What's that?
That's why she needs to call it tariffs and not a Trump sales tax.
Right, yeah.
The message is getting confusing there.
It's on purpose.
Countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there's so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50%.
Joe, you're laughing.
I think the inflation during the Great Depression was worse.
I knew that was what you're thinking
right
of.
now.
I knew that's what you were thinking
Yes. Of. Okay. Trump is hyperbolic. We understand that. He's exaggerating it being the worst, but it is. I do find it peculiar.
Call it what it is. Call it bad. Call it not good. But he's using hyperbolic language like a child.
Right. Just like how Kamala said the Trump sales tax when she should have said tariffs.
Thank you.
Not everything can be.
This is all semantics. This is you just sound like a media puppet right now to me. You're just nitpicking at the stupidest thing. We all know the Great Depression was the Great Depression. Does it feel like that right now to everyday Americans? So be hyperbolic to appeal to the masses right now. Screw it. Go for broke.
What's the line in between lying and being hyperbolic?
right now, man,
It's very fine.
Yeah, and right now he's running for president to secure his freedom from the justice system. So I would leave hyperbolic at the gate.
They're both guilty of it. It's not going to stop them either from doing this. This is what's done when a campaign is running, when we're running up toward an election. People are going to hear sensationalism. That's all. That you just expect it. I'm not going to get
What's good for the
mad.
goose is good for the gaggle, man. If she could do it, he could do it.
Yeah, but he's being the sensationalist. Usually it's from the news, but
correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well could be, as I am often, but speaking of the news, aren't we being told that we're not in an inflation period? We're not in a recession type thing, inflation, even though a lot of our prices and stuff like that kind of say otherwise?
We're being told that this is one of America's strongest economies, if we want to trust the media. And I mean, does anybody feel that?
That's what I've heard is inflation was high and it's getting back under control. It's on the downslope.
I hope
I don't know many people who share that sentiment in the real world outside of what the media is telling us, but I do believe that's what the media is reporting for sure.
Let's get back.
Lewis, welcome. Yeah, let's get back. Lewis, welcome to the show. Let us know in the chat if you think the inflation has been incredible recently, or if it's just been fine and it's all getting better. One or two. Crappy, two getting better.
Okay. How about this? We have to put it on a scale, or is that not the right word? Like, it could be getting better, but how bad was it? Like, yes, it's getting better, but is it at where it was before it got bad? Yes, like the trajectory shows inflation is going down, but how much did it go up? You know what I'm talking about? Like, yes, is it getting better, but is it down?
That brought it up was how bad was it? And it wasn't Great Depression bad.
Of course, yeah. No, yeah, I agree with you. When Trump gets hyperbolic, just as the Democrats, when they have to make up all this crazy things about how bad Trump is like, you guys don't have to be hyperbolic. Focus on the actual things he's done. You don't really have to go into this crazy territory. And it's just what Trump does. He loves to just over exaggerate. It's the best. It's huge. It's the biggest I've ever seen. It's the worst economy. We were the richest. It's billions and billions. We had a great economy. It is a politician standard to just over exaggerate and be hyperbolic, in my opinion.
And a cartoon villain, maybe, yes. But
then we're looking at two villains so far.
You don't think that a lot of politicians generally are a little more hyperbolic?
They definitely are. No argument there.
Right.
But
okay.
Let's see how he rides that line.
Right.
I don't know. You don't see the RNC dressing in Kwanzaa gear, God.
Yeah, but they pander to other people. They don't got to dress in Kwanzaa to not be pandered.
Evangelicals, sure. RNC evangelicals.
I would rip this shirt off like Hulk Hogan if I didn't love it too much.
All right, here we go. Let's continue.
60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic.
So, like, Joe, but right there, they're being hyperbolic, no? They're talking about the worst economy, yet not bringing up a world pandemic that was going on, right?
Zero context.
It was a world pandemic, and when you even from what I've seen from economists, if you back out the numbers, unemployment not only rebounded but has been better since.
It's gotten
some
better.
Some of that is post-COVID gain, but
purchasing power is like.
But the lowest part was probably inherited from the COVID era.
I mean, the highest gains in unemployment was inherited by the COVID era for sure.
Right. Well, like,
but
I mean,
it's been steady gaining since.
To be fair,
it hit a peak.
To be fair, and this could be a bad analogy, but muscle memory, right? You know, you work out, you get to a point, you stop working out, but when you work out again, it takes about half the time to get back to where you were. Is this the case of the economy, where the economy was at a great point, COVID killed it, and yes, the economy is rushing back to where it was, but is that just because everything got back to normal again? Was that because of policy, or was that just because of everything is moving again? We're producing, we're receiving. You know, the world is back doing its thing again. Everyone's kind of rebounding.
So from what I saw, some places were slower to start up than others. Yeah. Here in Texas, where the unemployment benefits are more rigid, you know, the economy kept going. We really didn't shut down much. Did we lose Josh? But in New York City, where we also have a shop, every business had a help wanted sign, and it's because the
red states versus blue states in the way that it's handled.
It's because the unemployment benefits outweighed going to work benefits and what you would get paid. So some of the blue states are slower to start up.
Yeah.
My only qualm is that we're talking about how, like, with the comparison to the Great Depression that we made earlier, right? The one thing that we didn't cover is that, like, purchasing power is half of what it was during the Great Depression. And that's because of wage disparity. That's due to income to cost of living. And that's the worst that it's ever been in the history of our country right now. And I think that is a very appropriate reflection on the current state of our economy. That is worsening, not getting better.
I completely agree with the wage disparity, and that is what's killing the middle class.
We're looking at one of the first generations that analysts are saying there are going to be people living at home until they are 40. Is that the type of fucking country you want to live in, bro?
Dude, I'm 40 right now, and it would be a huge struggle to buy a house.
Yeah, and I mean that's the world we're living in. That's the economy that we've been handed. And I think unless we start holding people accountable for it, they're just going to do more.
All right.
So what happened with the we lost you for a second there, Josh?
No, I just was switching to, like, you know, I can go to you, I can go to Eli. I was just getting a close up on whoever was talking at the moment. But let's go back to the debates.
Let's hear from the guru.
In a century, Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess.
Hyperbolic.
That's not hyperbolic.
Oh my God, we disagree so hard.
You said that's not hyperbolic? Are you being facetious?
All right, Joe believes that the insurrection is like one of the worst things ever. We were talking on the phone earlier, and I told him, and I know it's a twisted look, man. I was still a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I looked at that live streamed and said, "Oh my God, I'm glad the people are finally getting loud." You know, I celebrated it. He also doubles down that Trump incited it, and I don't.
Wasn't the White House like burnt down around this time? Like,
that was Civil War.
Yeah, well, like
it hasn't burned down since.
Well, I know. I thought what I just heard was you thought the Civil War wasn't as bad as the insurrection.
Oh, no. The insurrection is the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War.
Since the Civil War.
Quoted, and I agree with.
Not 9/11?
That wasn't us attacking us.
Well,
but it was
You said an attack on our democracy. You didn't say
an attack on our democracy.
Well, you didn't say it was a domestic attack. You just said it was an attack on our democracy. I mean, that's technically.
Well, that's what she said.
Technically, right? Heyo, that's what she said. Technically, though, they the reason why we were attacked, allegedly, was because they didn't like that we have freedom of choice and freedom of speech and, you know, whatever makes up our democracy. So that was an attack on our democracy. It just wasn't from a domestic point of view. Disagree?
Semantics there, but
semantics. There's a
it's an attack
huge
on our country, but not necessarily an attack on our democracy.
But what were they attacking about our country? What
It wasn't on a pivotal election day where to disturb a congressional process.
Do it again,
Trump
boys.
said go forth peacefully. I mean, so like a third party inciting violence does not constitute Trump insurrecting.
I understand Joe's point. Like, it was it was during a time of an election. Like, I understand that. So one could equate that to be an attack on democracy. But I guess I'm just saying, I think it could be argued that the other is also true. I'm not saying January 6th isn't true or isn't what he's saying, attack on democracy. I'm just saying I think I would consider 9/11 a bigger attack on democracy by my definitions. But that's where we're saying where we agree to disagree.
And I agree that January 6th was like a real thing that happened. I think you'd have to be crazy to not agree it's a real thing that happened. I just don't think that I don't think the breadcrumb trail leads back to Trump. I think saying go forward peacefully and then having a third party in the crowd inciting violence.
With 42 FBI agents.
Well,
I mean, the left literally argued against this when Antifa was antagonizing riots that were initially peaceful protests organized by BLM, right? So if we're supposed to separate those two, then you have to separate these two. And if you can't separate these two, then you shouldn't separate those two.
Agreed. I think there's a point to be made that you can objectively say there were two different things going on January 6th without being like an asshole. There
were far too many anomalies to just make it a black and white issue.
And far too many feds in that roster to make it, you know.
Allegedly.
All this will be brought to truth when it finally goes to court.
Yeah.
If Trump had nothing to hide, he would take the stand. He would be delaying this.
Can I just say this, though? Here's the thing with court. I know somebody personally who was convicted of something that they didn't do. So is court always the end all be all? Are you allowed to have a reasonable doubt? Like, if one is to believe that the justice system is set up against a political opponent and there are things that maybe appear that way, is one not allowed to have some type of reasonable doubt without being vilified and saying, oh, you're crazy, you're just like, well, hold up, there is some, is there some... The same people who don't like the law are now saying the law is 100% on vilifying Trump. But the same people who do not want to back the police, who want to defund the police, are all about the law side of things being 100% correct.
And the same people that used to speak up against Russia are defending them now.
Oh, no,
so
I'm not.
We're living in topsy-turvy times.
Yeah, I'm not denying that. Whatsoever. I never got to that point in my...
I understand the skepticism to the whole political and judicial system because on our levels, we've all been fucked by it. But
Absolutely.
On the highest level, it shouldn't be as fucked as it is on our level.
But
it starts up there, man. But that doesn't start down here.
No. The shit goes downhill.
I guarantee you the worst people work at the bottom.
I don't know
to any
about
business.
that.
The worst people work at the bottom.
More expensive corruption the farther up the ladder you go. Let's get like 5 solid minutes, if that's okay, of like some debate. I mean, I'm not trying to dictate anything.
You sound like the classic Eli the Dictator from Please Defend Us.
Oh shit! Oh man,
to keep it going.
Yeah.
Damn.
All right,
remember that.
Let's play.
Have done, and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances.
Is she projecting? Is she talking about herself right now? She's talking about Trump. Heyo.
She's talking about herself.
He's been doing the same playbook for a while.
Oh, dude, but the left and the right both have. It's so stupid to pick a side. I can't sit here and be like what she's saying. I could totally say the same thing to her side.
But she's not talking about Hannibal Lecter. But let's see. I agree with Eli. Let's see where this goes. We're still on the first question.
Is it detailed?
She's not talking about Hannibal Lecter, but she's making a broad statement. And in that broad statement, I can apply her statement to both sides of this right-wing, left-wing debacle thing going on. This whole tribalism bullshit.
Dangerous
What
plan
else
called
do you
Project
expect from abroad?
2025.
Whoa.
Preach.
No. Whoa.
That the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than
Bro,
what's separate.
am I wrong here? Or are they framing Kamala Harris an inch taller than Trump? Like,
No,
are they framing
right.
her taller than Trump?
I mean, if you look at it, the eyes, the plane of the eyes, she's a little bit higher.
What is that?
Oh.
That's weird.
That's biased. I expected an
Like literally in entertainment and movies, that's how you portray certain things, by giving them a different type of angle than the person you're trying to juxtapose them to. So I mean, that's a thing. That's a visual thing. So it's not to say it isn't.
In movies, you also make the villain ugly, and
Well, he made himself ugly. We don't gotta. We didn't do nothing for that. He's
you
just
can't correct for that.
Look at him. The guy looks like a constant sunset. He's just always orange all the time.
a constipated sunset.
And
Yes.
I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute.
He's just
All
always,
Americans and illegal immigrants.
Oh, what happened? There we go.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess
God, I
some
hate
good,
her
some
face
bad,
when she does
but
that.
it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns. We got masks. We did things that nobody thought possible.
Project Warp
And people
Speed.
give me
Left's
credit
got to
for
give them credit for
rebuilding
that.
the military. They give me credit
what
for
they
a lot
wanted.
of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you
What?
look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks. for
Did
the
you see
richest
Trump's face there? He just
I
did the
am
Kermit the
offering
Frog face
what
again.
I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School
Bro, remember when the left was like, we don't like rich people? And now the left is like, yo, one of the richest people ever. We're like, you guys are great. And they're like, yes, we love rich people. Remember when the left was like, yo, we don't like warmongers. And like Dick Cheney was like, you know what? He didn't really endorse her, but Kamala was like, I love this. This is a fantastic thing from Dick Cheney. The person you guys called Darth Cheney for fucking ever. It's so funny that you're not allowed to notice the flip. If you notice the flip, then you're not a Democrat anymore. Whatever. We're
So
for the people.
Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, all of the military-industrial complex that recently made like astronomical profits under a Democratic administration, that just didn't happen, right? Like.
I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna use
Coke?
Streamlab and see if I can multi-stream or some shit. All right, let's.
Well, don't blue screen your computer to death if you got a fucking RAM problem.
No. It's we gravy.
I will say this real quick, and I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on it. But one of the reasons why I would prefer not Kamala, and it's not because I would prefer Trump. It's just because
Just say Trump. It's okay.
No,
I'm with.
it's all legit. It's one of the reasons why I would not want Kamala is because there's this hierarchy, this repetition thing going on. That if Kamala gets in, I don't want Tom Walls as the next president, and Barack Obama. 8 years, Joe Biden, his vice president. Joe Biden gets in, Kamala Harris is vice president. Right now, who's up for presidency? Kamala Harris. So there's this thing where when the Democrats weren't on that side of it, like, oh, it's a Bush era, all the Bushes are, they're cool with this type of, whether it not be in the family name, but there's this like relationship thing going on. President, vice president, vice president. That I would not want to see. Secondly,
nepotism.
I mean, it's better. It's better than the what's the word I'm thinking of? Dynasties that we had earlier.
I disagree.
Clinton and Hillary Clinton almost getting in, and Reagan leading to Bush.
That's where we're going to have to. Right.
All the other Kennedys.
I don't see it as any different. I don't think blood relation makes it any less of a dynasty, man. I think just because it's not a dynasty by like historical definition doesn't mean that it doesn't share similar traits. I think what's bad is bad, and we should call all bad bad, not just some bad bad.
Well said.
And
there's definitely degrees of bad, though.
Yeah, there is. And how about the idea that the Democratic primaries passed? Joe Biden won the primaries, was the primary. He dropped out, and all of a sudden come out. Like, there's one thing I don't want to set a precedent for is the establishment to pick the person, and we do not get a say on that. We didn't have a say. There wasn't anybody else who felt comfortable enough to run against Kamala to try to take those votes away from her. It was just given to her. I don't like that precedent. And I don't like the precedent of this repetition of vice president, president, vice president, president. So that's really where I'm standing.
I agree with you on both those points. As far as the primary thing, though, I think it was a really break glass in case of emergency thing. And if the Democratic Party's had a hard time doing anything in the last elections, it's unifying behind one person.
You're
right.
right.
Being Democratic.
Each other over like they did Bernie.
How about just her coronation and the massive amounts of money she got in such a small amount of time? Like, that just bothers me. This was not the elected.
Voters.
This was not the person that was elected. She inherited the $96 million that was Biden's. Just, it's just going to bug me, period.
I'd like to respond to your break glass in case of emergency comment, because I do agree with you. I do agree that this is like they're swinging for the fences. My problem with this is we're in this weird standstill where there's only like Joe Biden doesn't feel comfortable enough to rerun for president. That's 2 months away. Why is he still president then? And I feel like there's something going on there where if they gave it over to Kamala right now, Kamala, if they gave it over to her at the moment, like, if he were to step down, I do feel like they're almost like protecting her. Like let's allow her to make the least mistakes amount possible. If she was president, she would almost already be put on that spotlight where she's making decisions, things are going on where people can vote against her. Right now, she hasn't done anything.
She wouldn't have to be campaigning for it. It should be like, I just did this. I just signed this.
But think about this.
It's a good thing that they didn't Joe Biden just didn't back all the way out.
Right, but think about this.
He's in vacation golf mode. He's got senioritis.
But if he has senioritis,
one more thing in the next 3 months.
You hope.
But if he's unfit to participate in a fair debate, and he's unfit to run for re-election due to his mental capabilities or lack thereof, then by default, he's unfit to rule the country.
Impeached, like, get him gone. Like, what does he even say? It's just
he's just being a placeholder. He's just being a placeholder.
He is a placeholder right now, and so the only one that's disqualified him from the running for the election is himself. So
what is Kamala's place? I mean, camel toe has been in all this. It's been just feeding him applesauce. She's made no decisions and has had no impact on all the terrible decisions that has been occurring under his administration and her administration.
The vice president's role is to break ties in the Senate, and not much outside of that. Dick Cheney took it way too far.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, but Dick Cheney just
ridiculed for it.
Dick Cheney
I'd argue
just
she's taking it further.
Kamala.
She hasn't done anything.
She's taking it further right now. Right now, she's on the campaign while He's sitting in there with his bib on, getting fed fucking tapioca pudding. She's running for the presidency. She's getting all of the benefits without any of the critique, like Josh was pointing out. She has made this coronated darling, and she can do no wrong.
I do
but
like
make
that.
money and get donations.
I do
She
like
shouldn't
that
be campaigning.
analogy.
She should be running the country.
She really is at the moment getting all the benefits without the critique because, and I wish we had time to play the video. Maybe we can afterwards. But that guy Alan Lichtman, the guy who predicts all the elections. I mean, he predicted Trump would win in 2020. He predicted Biden
I think
would
he's
win
like 9 for 10 right now.
I mean, 2016. Yeah, he's 9 for 10. He's predicting Kamala would win. What the fuck is his name? God damn it. Who's the guy who said politics is downstream from culture? Fuck. I think it was Andrew Breitbart. Politics downstream from culture. And right now, who's dominating culture? Not Trump. It's all Kamala. It's all the left that dominates the country, which I'm bringing back to Eli with what you said. She's getting all the benefits of the positivity without any of the critiques right now. And it just seems seems unfair. It doesn't.
That's why the ABC is the very spot that's hosting this frickin' debate that has not 100% positive coverage, not a single thing said negatively about her, not even a call out to one thing, no accountability, and the place also 97% negative on Trump.
Well, what has ABC?
We're also not through the first question.
Yeah, I know. My God.
Yeah, right now ABC hasn't called out anything on Trump. They have a history of that, but during the debate they have not. But if you're an ABC viewer, you know damn well, they have before. So it is a weird way to present two people. It doesn't seem unbiased. There does seem a bias to it, and I don't even know if you can escape that. I don't even there is no way to escape that bias because of how polarizing these two individuals
it's inherent. It's there. It's embedded. That's why we have other outlets popping up. You can't.
Kamala's in the news because she's running for president. Trump's in the news because he's running for president. He's getting sued. He's suing this other people. He's got this court case. He's got this sentencing hearing.
Countless witch hunts, and people love getting coverage out of him. And the media should be thanking him for all the revenue.
Tell me it's a witch hunt.
Yeah, it has been. Look at all the failures, and up to now, yes, the 34 documents or whatever the case. Keep bringing it on, man. It was bound with the deep state. Something was going to stick.
Oh, they'll keep bringing it on.
All right. Let's hear some shit.
Let's keep going with this. I'm going to escape for like 30 seconds. I got to take a pee. So I'm going to play this. And I'll be right back.
Has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's
the best plan the world's ever seen.
Be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President,
my plan is going to be coming in 2 weeks.
The vice president brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued that it'll be higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries.
Sorry, boys.
And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and
you want me to pause it all? Anything you want to say?
But those tariffs
one moment. For one moment, he is not wrong. Like Joe, I respectfully, you're my brother, and I see you laughing. I know you're probably laughing at the notion that he said that he made China pay. He's not joking. He is like one of the only presidents in my lifetime that I ever knew that took such a hard stance on China. He, not Bernie Sanders, my original hero, is the one that made me look at China as an actual economic threat.
Think of it like this, though, Eli. Like with tariffs. And excuse me if I'm wrong, but let me juxtapose. Let me juxtapose it to Kamala Harris and the House credit she wants to give. The House credit she wants to give. She wants to give people what, $25,000 like for a house credit, something like that. All people? Yeah, people applying for houses.
First-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers, correct. You just made the prices of houses go up by $25,000. So you don't think when Trump puts tariffs on something from a different country, they then compensate for that tariff in the price of their merchandise. So now we're essentially inadvertently paying for that tariff because let's say that tariff raised the price for that product $100. Well, guess what? China just took their product and raised it $100. They don't want to pay the tariff. So now their product coming to us, we're paying the extra money for it.
So the way the tariffs work is it's a tax on imports. It's a tax on imports that we pay. So
I was in the aluminum business. You're in the business. Look.
Yes, I'm in the business.
I was in the business.
Tariffs will increase on the tax that we pay on incoming goods. China doesn't pay that. We buy the goods from China and we pay the extra tax because we're buying them from China. This will discourage us from buying from China, and to retaliate, China will increase their tariffs on U.S. imported goods, hurting U.S. businesses that ship abroad. Then
what's her name?
It doesn't spiral into a trade war beyond that, but that's almost what happened with Trump's first round of tariffs. Is China retaliated with their own?
We didn't fare too bad until COVID hit.
Yeah, and we were trying to keep business in America, which as an American, I think that's, something beautiful to strive towards. We should try to be as independent as possible, especially considering the current global climate.
It was also...
That's admirable if we can do business the right way, and the people making these products that we usually get from China can make an affordable wage doing it.
But to get there, we have to get off the tit, and that's going to be an uncomfortable process. And the longer we stay on the tit, the more uncomfortable it's going to be when we try to wean ourselves off of it.
I'd love to see that and not it just be a pipe dream. But okay, point made about the tariffs. I do believe in my heart it was the long game so that they would relent, and I believe it was CanCon. Sorry for referencing him so often, that told me that China finally had signed this deal where it was going to work out better, and then COVID inexplicably hit us 2 weeks after the fact. I don't have a better source. I'd have to ask him.
I'll send you some sources on the long game that I found during my research, but I don't have them now.
Anyway. Fair enough. I'm going to be able to talk to CanCon on Sunday. I'd love for you to meet him. All right, let's get...
I missed that guy.
Yeah, he's still around. He's doing good.
Years now, under their administration, we are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Look at her face. Why is she making that face?
Ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having, on the short end of the stick, in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump.
Hold up. Hold up. Is she really good? Like, countless people went after the origins of COVID and they were kicked off of different social media platforms, stuff like that. I don't understand her gotcha moment here, or what this gotcha moment is. She's saying Trump befriended President Xi, yet he was hiding the origins. So are they admitting that the origins of COVID wasn't from a bat in some food factory? It was, I don't understand.
Wait,
what's the gotcha
who was the
here?
president who got shit on for calling it the China virus again? Who was the president who got shit on for holding the country of origin accountable again?
Yeah, Donald Trump.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy, right? Who were the people constantly downplaying it through the entire pandemic? It was the Republicans, right?
Well, if you said it was a China virus, you were xenophobic, or you were racist. Or
You were a hate monger. Oh yeah. No, you were written off, canceled.
Yeah, just like, the Spanish flu was called the Spanish flu because of where it originated from, but calling COVID-19 the China virus is xenophobic.
Right. Yeah, but now he's being touted as being too buddy with
Xi, and that's why he was blindsided, because he was so friends with President Xi. He was blindsided, and he didn't understand. Like, even though he called it the China virus, and like,
he was the only person crucifying Xi during that time. Like, what?
I want to see that tweet she's talking about.
I'm very confused by her tactic here. It really feels like this did not go how she thought it was going to go.
Let's see. I'm going to do some research.
Y'all should check chat real quick. I posted a funny.
Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore.
I'm going to go back.
Because
hang on a second. Sorry.
Philosophy. Have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like four sentences.
Hang on. Fuck.
All right. That's all right. All you hundreds of millions of people tuning in right now,
I believe
just
very
take a moment.
And Hispanics, and also unions.
Did I go back too far?
Very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio.
Went back too
you look
far.
at Aurora.
That's
Typical family,
My
nearly
apologies.
$4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices?
Where the fuck are we?
That's bigger than New York State. Test and life of the mother. I believe strongly.
1 second. We were talking about chips, right? That's where we were at, China and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Where the fuck were we?
He was just talking about how he doesn't deal in the. We don't deal in those anymore. They're
Let me know
antiquated, something to that effect.
I need you guys' help. If this does any of this sound familiar?
And even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate.
Yep, I remember this.
I would like to let Vice President
She's
Harris
going to respond to him. Okay, we're pretty damn
I
close.
would love to. Let's talk
She
about
responds to
what
this and then
Donald
get to the
Trump
next
left
question.
us.
Can
Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression.
You can't do the old mobile scrub by 10 seconds on desktop, can you, on YouTube? That's a bummer.
Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century.
I'm going to try to go forward accordingly.
The worst.
Or should I just play it from here? Is this about where we were or no?
If you hold and drag up, you could get to precise scrolling.
On our democracy since the Civil War.
Drag all the way up, or drag up more.
I'm just trying to figure out where we were, though. Like, I remember that.
This is what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917. Where
I'm just going to let it play
100
from
million
here.
people
Sorry
died.
about that.
Has
Just
there
so we
been
don't
anything
miss
like
it.
it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
Well, we agree to that. Was the economy on the rebound when Trump was leaving, or was the economy still on the downtick when Trump was leaving?
It was on the downtick. It was 2020, first year of COVID.
It was technically 2021, no? Was it January 2021?
It was 2021 when Biden took office, but the whole year of 2020, it was going down.
So you're saying in 2020, even by December of 2020, the economy was still in a downward trend. Wasn't going up yet.
Yeah, I believe so. I could double check.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind, just so we can.
I'll go with it. It was on a downward. We have some consensus in the chat. Not very active, but we got somebody that says it was coming back. It was coming back. Oh, and so Joe did supply the tweet from 2020 where Trump thanked China for their transparency, saying things will work out in the end. He said, "Thank you, President Xi." So
I don't think that's being buddy-buddy. I think that's just not being...
I think that's trying not to have a panicked state
I would love
anymore.
to know. I would love to know the time frame of that tweet, and when he called it the China virus, and when everybody started giving him shit for being xenophobic or whatever. So, like, was that before?
That was January, so a month before shutdowns.
It was January what? I'm sorry again. Say it again.
January 2020, so a month
2020.
before shit got shut down.
China has been working very hard to contain the coronavirus. The United States greatly appreciates their efforts and transparency. It will all work out well. In particular, on behalf of the American people, I want to thank President Xi.
Another point there too is like, so in that moment, could he been mistaken and then change his mind? Like, is he not allowed to change it?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Maybe a month before shutdowns just seems too early to be relevant to the discussion.
That was her intention.
Yeah, it really does kind of seem like before everyone knew everything going on. Let's play a little bit more here. Let's catch back up to where we were.
We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy.
Shit.
What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because
we're getting close
your
to where
plan
we were.
is
My
what she
apologies.
calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming.
Are we
into this
really
country.
far back?
As you know, many economists
we're
say
right
that
on
with
cue.
tariffs at
Okay.
that level,
We're about to be caught up.
passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year.
Isn't gas,
Do you
food, and
believe
medication
Americans
high
can
as fuck
afford
right
higher
now?
prices because of tariffs?
We're not going to have higher
I paid
prices. Who's gonna have-
$2.60
and who's going to have
earlier
higher
gallon.
prices is China and all of the countries that
Say it again, Joe. Sorry, man.
I said I paid $2.60 something earlier a
What,
gallon.
gas?
Not the.
Mhm.
Oh,
that's
brother,
pretty-
up here it's about 320.
Yeah. Yeah. In the good old
Texas.
state of Florida. We're still coming
Texas.
down from being the number one expensive state in the country for the second freaking time.
Let's keep going a little bit.
have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs.
I like
in
this
place. How do
guy.
you respond?
I like this guy.
Well, let's
He's not.
be clear that the Trump administration
Surprisingly
resulted
centered.
in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them
He shared his
improve
Pringles
and modernize
with the
their
Chinese.
military, basically sold us out. When a
You know what they say? Once you pop, you can't stop, dude.
I mean, as the president, you got to share, baby.
You got to, dude.
policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during
Where we
COVID.
left
Look
off.
at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all,
We're buffering.
Every day we're buffering. Every day we're buffering. Or did it get kicked? For,
No. YouTube wouldn't just stop supplying their video, and we wouldn't be talking if we got kicked.
Yeah, the Blaze is covering them with. What's up, Steve? Welcome. What's up, Joe Brandon? By the way, welcome. We're trying to cover this debate. So far, we
But
are
our
pretty
Vice President
impressed
Joe
with at
Peg
least the
says-
fella. He's been as the
they
moderator.
have to hate our country.
He's been a fair speaker.
Lindsay?
Here we go.
I want to turn
Back
to the
into it.
issue of abortion.
All right,
President
we're gonna miss one thing. Sorry about that, but let's just keep going because I don't know what.
Just roll. Just roll.
Trump,
Just roll.
you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban.
Get 'em.
Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because
All right,
you've
here's where I
changed your
disagree with
position
Trump.
so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is.
His answer should be, it's whatever the American people want. I will vote. I will sign in for whatever the American people vote for.
Josh, can you look
I'll do
down?
whatever you say that gets me a win.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it would have been a safer play.
All right, let's look at that face. Look at that face right there.
Fire and brimstone. That face dodged a pew.
I need to save that screenshot. He's got the underbite going.
Yeah.
They have
orange
abortion
man.
in the ninth month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that's predominates, because they're radical.
She's
Send me
shaking
a
her,
link.
she's
He
shaking
said
her
that.
head no, but are we talking about that guy that was on the radio show? That they would make the baby comfortable, they would talk to the mother, and they'd figure out what, even though the baby was born and alive, they'd figure out what they would do with the baby.
Yeah, and I'm only referring to this one zealot Georgia governor. I'm not referring to the entire DNC. And this is an uncomfortable place for me because I disagree with the party on their stance on Roe v. Wade and, abortion in general. So, Trump and I, this is a hard one.
Why can a woman get an abortion, but also if the baby is viable, the baby is allowed to live? Why does a baby?
That's in every state. That's murder.
But that
killing a
doesn't.
baby
What?
after it's
No,
born.
that's not correct. Most of the time, the baby. Okay. No. I see what you're saying. If it's past a certain amount of weeks, you're saying they will try to do what they can to save the baby.
Yeah, if it passes through that birth canal or through a C-section with a heartbeat, they're
Oh,
gonna try
no.
to save
I'm
it.
not. Okay, you're saying after birth. I'm saying before birth. Like, let's say birth is what? How many weeks is birth? I'm sorry, I don't have a kid. Birth is 9 months. So
9
let's say a girl's going to get an abortion 7 months, 8 months in. It hasn't been born yet, but they can get the baby out. The baby can be, she doesn't have to worry about it anymore. But then, the doctor, the hospital can figure out what they can do and how they can keep this baby keep going, because you have so many people on the adoption list looking to adopt. And I feel like there's more of them out there than there are children to adopt.
I imagine that's usually what happens if it's something late like that. But usually the late-term abortions are because the fetus isn't viable or to protect the life of the mother. No one's changing their mind 7 months into pregnancy that they, okay, I can't say nobody, but most people aren't changing their mind after carrying a baby for 6 months or 7 months. And saying
it's
they
not a
want to
typical
abort it,
practice to wait for it to be fully born and then, that's not a typical thing.
no.
I don't want that. I don't want anybody to misconstrue me with running with that narrative. Just saying that he's right about that one idiot.
That is very like the outlier, the person waiting to the last moment to be like, you know what, I want an abortion. But in the same respect, how do you guys feel about people using abortion as a contraceptive?
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly disagree with it being used as
Why?
a contraceptive.
Why?
Because there's so many other forms of contraception.
But if it's
which means that
before 6
I don't think
weeks,
people are using it as a primary one. That sounds ridiculous.
there are
Inconvenient.
people.
sounds expensive. It doesn't sound
Yeah,
ridiculous. It
really.
just sounds expensive.
Birth
I
control
think
is so much cheaper.
anything.
I agree, but there's people who use it as not emergency contraception, which is what it's intended to be used as. People are using it as just contraception, or like, oh, I was irresponsible, so now I'm just going to do this instead of I should have had my partner wear a condom. I could have taken Plan B. I could have been on birth control. But why would I do that when I could just abortion?
I just want to give one 2-time for birth control pills out there. Save me.
We all do, buddy.
Yeah.
We all do.
2 time for Plan B, baby.
Yeah.
Let's hear it.
Vasectomy.
That's actually it's not the peace sign, it's the sign. Yeah. Same 2 fingers, just different angle.
Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice
he's crazy.
presidential pick says
Advance,
abortion
okay.
in the ninth
You know
month
what's cool?
is absolutely.
You know what's cool is he could totally rip on Tim, whatever his name is. Like he can't rip
Waltz.
on Kamala, But he
Tim
could
Walz.
go at it with Tim Walz. Like, this guy, he's a loser. He's the biggest loser I've ever seen. He's a white loser. Don't like him. Like, he has like, you know what I mean? Carte blanche to rip on Tim Walz. Like, there's nothing bad could happen.
Did you guys see that Waltz's entire family
Yeah.
did a public photo
Yeah.
with Trump 2024?
Yep.
Oh, you mean his
I think the family knows Waltz a little bit more.
Yes.
His
Thank you,
grandfather's brother. Who
Thank you, Joe.
Tim Walz never even met those people.
But like the first thing I saw when I saw that photo was like, I laughed at it too. I was like Eli, I found it like enjoyable. I was like, God damn, families are so fucked up. Like, who knows? At the very least, they only did that to spite him. Not because they like Trump, but because they hate him. You know what I mean? Like, there's no, like, we don't know the like, families, they're so fucked up. We're all fucked up in families. Like, you have a few cousins who hate your fucking guts, bro. And they would vote anything that is against what you're voting because they fucking hate you. And that's how family works. So you have this whole, like, you know, hey, let's Walz for Trump. It's like, okay, I see what's going on here. I love it. I'm glad you guys are voting for him and you're speaking your piece. But also, too, you sons of bitches. I know exactly what this is. This is like a family feud thing going on, and we're kind of in the middle of it now.
I know Robert Kennedy's family did it first.
They disavowed him.
Yeah, exactly.
RFK, baby.
That made me like him more in that context.
He's kind of crazy, but he's also kind of right on a lot of shit.
He's very honest.
Guys,
Yeah.
they're the same person. They both went against the grain of their family. Don't you see this? The whole Walz family was like, we're for Trump. And Walz was like, well, I'm a Kamala guy now. And the whole RFK family was like, well, we're for Kamala. And RFK's like, well, I'm a Trump guy now. And we're the same people.
You got to do
Everybody's
the
the
voice. You gotta do
same. They just got a
voice.
different, like, hero, a different villain. You know, we're trying to convince each other that, oh, but your hero's actually the villain. He's the real villain, and she's the real villain.
Yeah, get it right. She.
All right, let's keep going.
They, them are the real villain.
They, them. Adam, you look like you're real comfortable right now, dude.
Yes, sir.
Straight up. I've never seen a more comfortable position.
Spread legged, man.
Crisscross applesauce. Baby.
Perfect timing for the abortion talk.
Also, too, what's cool, if you look at it, Adam's hair goes out to the side, and then if we could juxtapose Joe's beard into Adam's hair goes out this way and Joe's beard goes down this way. It's a perfect juxtaposition because like you have all three things covered now. You know,
We're gonna get these two to
long
kiss. and
hair,
we'll
no.
have our-
Doesn't gotta be gay. I'm just saying they complete, you know, the trifecta thing going on here. It's
We would make an awesome playing card.
yes,
Absolutely.
Adam and Joe, you complete me.
When we
I'm with
combine
that.
them together, we get
Our mega fusion.
Yeah. Trifecta soar. I don't know.
Through the power of politics, we unite.
No, enough. All right, play.
I hate both their faces in this freeze frame, by the way. Hey, and she's just like,
They're both easily hateable.
he's taking a deuce and she just smelled his deuce. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's going on here. He just took a shit and she's just like, woo, boy, that's a Trump shit if I ever smelled one.
Absolutely
Kamala
fine. He
mega
also
doo-doo.
says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the.
Let's just make a statement here and say that his decision to bring it back to the states did nothing to make it less polarizing.
Damn right.
It certainly created more chaos, and states
Yeah.
started running wild with it.
This is Joe. This is where I do not align with the person I want to vote for.
This
At
is
all.
where I would, in theory, veer from you guys. I would much rather see it being up to the states than a federal thing, because I'm very torn on the whole idea. But again, I'm not. It's demographic. I'm not the one who's getting an abortion, so I really don't have much of a say over it. But with my limited understanding of it, I'd rather see things done a little differently. But that's just me.
I like the states' right aspect of it. I think if you don't like your state's abortion laws, there are 49 other ones that you can pick to live in, and no one is stopping you. That's the beauty of the country we live in.
It's so easy to move.
The economy kind of is, and everything that you build up in your state kind of hurts when it stabs you in the
but
back
if the majority of the people in your state don't want abortion, why does your one opinion matter? Like if the majority doesn't feel that way, then the majority should be heard. That's why state rights.
Here's what I'll say this.
Yeah, but it's still kind of mind your own damn business. And also, some of the states that want to outlaw it also want to track pregnancies and persecute abortion tourism.
Right, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that, but I do agree that it should be left up to the states, because I think that our voices should matter. I think that for a long time our voices haven't mattered, and anything that makes our voices matter a little bit more should be seen as a good thing rather than a bad thing. I'm all for less government oversight.
I think it should be left up to the states, but I think the federal government should come in at a point and say, yes, it's up to you, but you need to allow up to X amount of time for an abortion. So you can't have a state that's radical and says you only have 4 weeks. Every state has to at least have 4 months. I don't know. Y'all figure it out.
I mean, what you're describing is what Roe v. Wade gave us.
Yeah, I never wanted
it. Was federal, and then the states could add more time onto it, but there was federal minimums.
I didn't want it overturned.
Yeah, I disagree a little bit. I think it was a little more broad than that, but I do think at the very least it should only be a minimum set by the feds. Nothing else that goes beyond that. Just, hey, y'all can have your rights, but all we ask for is you have 3-month, 4-month minimum, and that's it. And we're not going to say anything else about it. Everything else is up to you guys. But again, I'm a white man, so my opinion doesn't matter, apparently.
True.
So, yep.
So, on that note,
bad fact of this country.
Let's listen to Camel Toe.
Hell yes.
The states where the people could vote, and that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal.
He's getting worked up.
Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I
Isn't that not correct, though? I mean, we watched a video where no, it's not though. It's not though. We literally watched a video where a man was on a radio station saying that after the baby has been delivered, they have a conversation with the mother if they want to abort it or not. That's not true. I would love to know if anybody out there could tell me that guy's name. We could literally bring up the interview.
Get a source and move on.
No. It's not like that. It's just one of those things like that, dude. We're inundated with information 24 hours a day. You only have what's that guy's name? You can only remember 200 names at a time. Like there's so many things going on. You can't really have a list of everything. But there is a legit video of a legit governor, doctor, whatever, in a legit radio station. Eli, we're talking about the same thing where he's answering the question there. We make sure the baby's calm, we make sure the mother's happy, and then we have a discussion. So like that isn't all true with what like how she very matter-of-factly said that doesn't necessarily
the framework the way in which she presented it, she made it seem like it was almost status quo, like such a commonality. It's not the case, and
I'll try to look it up. I'm going to keep playing
I'm against the Republican Party.
You're going to hear a bunch of
I'm
lies,
against
and that's not
the overturning.
a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision.
You guys mind if I bring that video up real quick?
Their body next. That is immoral.
We'd figure that out
One
later.
does
Let's
not
get through
have
this
to
debate.
abandon their faith or deeply held
I feel like
belief.
we're going to miss that point, though, because it's really important that when she says that's not a thing that anywhere happens, I think it's important to show a video of a doctor saying that is the case, though.
I think the timestamp, it calls it out at 38:46
Of
I
this
haven't
video?
screened it. It's a long video. I'll screen it. See
Hang on.
or if you want to.
A second, I got you real quick. I think I have the video real quick. It's not that long either. Ralph Northam, that's the guy's name.
Multiple physicians.
All right, and I don't know exactly where this video is starting off, but this is the interview. Right quick. It is important.
Yeah, it's a 54-minute interview, so I don't
should
know where
have
it's
to
at.
weigh in as is currently required. She's trying to lift that requirement.
Well, I think it's always good to get
Sorry,
a
pause.
second opinion. And
38:47 is where the quote at hand is.
Let's go back to 37:51.
really trying to, one, make it so it's affordable, but two, to be able to move people as efficiently as we can. And as you may know, Lloyd, about 66% of the individuals that travel on 66 now are doing it with carpooling or transit. So anyway, I would... Again, for those individuals that want to work in Washington, there are options at least. And I know if someone wants to drive individually in their car, it's going to be more.
So right now, he's obviously not talking about anything about abortion, so there is no context before this.
Expensive, but I would encourage people to look at the different options and remind them that about 66% of individuals that travel into D.C. now are doing it through carpooling and our transit. So hopefully we're heading in the right direction. But your point is well taken. We want people to live in Virginia. There's no question about that. And if they're working in Washington, we certainly want to make that as efficient as we can.
Let's turn back to NBC4's Julie Carey.
And governors, you know, the issue of abortion rights emerges every year in the General Assembly session. This year, no exception. There was a very contentious committee hearing yesterday when Fairfax County Delegate Kathy Tran made her case for lifting restrictions on third trimester abortions, as well as other restrictions now in place. And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion, even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say is this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family.
Okay, so how's that not murder?
He's saying it will be resuscitated.
Right.
So that's
and
kept
then
alive.
a decision will be made. No matter
keep
if
it
you're
going.
deformed or have a disability, you shouldn't be murdered. Would you agree with that?
I didn't hear the whole state. Finish the statement.
Desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion. But again.
So if you just heard what he said, I'm not making it up, the baby would be delivered, it would be made comfortable, and then a decision would be made between the physician and the mother. So the idea that a baby is not being murdered via what Ralph Northam is saying is factually incorrect, because what Ralph is saying, and whether you agree with it or not,
in a hypothetical.
No, in factual, if the baby has a deformity or some type of
I'm saying
disability,
he was giving a hypothetical, but
based
yes, continue.
off something that has occurred. It was a hypothetical that he was giving based off of something that was being discussed. So yes, a hypothetical, but hypothetically, you would murder a deformed child? Hypothetically, I'm just saying hypothetically.
I think it's okay, regardless of our stance, to say that's a bad look, bad take. But
yeah, no, you shouldn't. I
would agree that's a bad take, and I think that's coming off wrong. And
here,
it's not coming off wrong, but it's just it goes against what
be
Kamala.
Murdered, but
it goes against what Kamala said.
Decision.
Hang on a second, though. It does go. What do you mean? It has a discussion of whether they want to keep the baby or not. They're saying third trimester abortions. That's the idea of the conversation. The conversation is whether the baby is viable or wants to be kept or not. Hence, a third trimester abortion. So the baby has been delivered, and now the baby's being made comfortable. And as per Ralph Northam, they're saying a discussion is had between the physician, many physicians, and the mother, whether the baby should be aborted or not, even though the baby has already been delivered.
Okay, but
and this is juxtaposed. Hang on a second, and I'll finish. Hang on a second. Just let me finish. Just let me finish, and then you can cap it off. This is juxtaposed to Kamala Harris saying babies aren't murdered.
All right. With that take, he said the first thing they're going to do is resuscitate the baby and keep it. That's what they mean by keep it comfortable. Resuscitate, meaning if the baby wasn't viable, they're going to try to keep it alive.
That's not necessarily what they mean.
What's that decision? They didn't allude to the decision. It could be murder. It could be adoption.
Joe,
they didn't say.
If you resuscitate something that's living,
brings it home. But why would they? If they plan on murdering a baby, why would they resuscitate it?
Because they're having a conversation. He just literally said that. We want to know if the mother or the physician agrees this baby is viable. So before maybe the baby, I don't understand. But even if it's resuscitated, why have the conversation? The conversation should be null and void. The baby's resuscitated, and we're going to go here and forward with the baby. Why is there then a conversation had about if the baby is viable? Okay, well if the mother doesn't
going to live another day and require thousands of dollars of medical attention, maybe that's the discussion about how much.
So you
how
are
much
for
care
murder.
do you want to put
okay,
into this
then
baby?
Why did you resuscitate? Then why was it resuscitated?
Because it's the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. They're gonna.
But the Hippocratic Oath is then violated because it costs too much money to keep this life alive. So the Hippocratic Oath is then hypocritically violated, but because it's not financially viable. So why keep it alive or resuscitate it if you're then going to murder it?
Well, I mean, it's also about how long will it live for? What
who knows that? Nobody knows that.
Care is the baby going to require?
Yeah, who are we to make that decision? There's people who were supposed to die months after birth who made it decades.
It should be the mother, but after the baby is born, I don't think it's the mother's choice anymore. I think
no, you don't get to murder, and if it has a heartbeat, it's murder.
Of the baby fall just on the state.
Say it again.
For adoption.
Well, there's 10 million people out there who want to adopt children. So yeah, maybe the state should. If the state's for funding abortion, the state should also be for funding places for children to stay alive. I mean, it should be the same. It should be equal amounts. Like, yeah, no problem. Mm-hmm. We'll get rid of your baby for you if you don't want it. But also, we're going to try to find a viable option for this baby because there are people who do want it. So it seems kind of hypocritical for the state to say we'll save it, but then we'll kill it. So it should be okay.
Go ahead, finish. Sorry.
No, that was it. That was it.
I think it presents a slippery slope because, I think that when we were initially talking about this abortion topic, right, it was all, oh, well, as long as there's not a heartbeat, then it's not life. And then it was like, oh, well, it could have a heartbeat and still not be a human life. Oh, well, at this point, it's a human life. Now we're talking about third trimester pregnancies. Oh, the baby's not viable, or it has a disability, or it has some sort of disfigurement. I think we're going further away from abortion and more into not to correlate it to Hitler, but I mean, the Nazis were killing people with disabilities and deformities. So I think, like, if it's bad for them to do it, why are we trying to advocate that it's okay for medical professionals in a country who was staunchly against the Nazi regime doing it?
I'd like to propose a question from Dr. J Banana in chat. I think it's a good question. How would it be different than a family member choosing for someone without a DNR? What do you think?
Well, because an abortion, like, someone would have to abort it, right? Like, with a DNR, you're just not resuscitating.
Yeah,
They're talking about resuscitating the baby and then making the decision, which is what
the DNR.
ties it to murder.
You're honoring what the wishes of the person wanted. That's the case. They don't want to be.
I'm sure if you ask that baby, they'd probably want to
and
live.
that's the distinction. That's the distinction. Anything that's alive, I think, just instinctively wants to live. So I think that's the little thing. Even though, just I don't like any part of this. This stance.
I don't know, but I know we're getting caught up in the extremes, and even as far as abortions go, less than 1% take place in the third trimester.
I don't think any should take place that far, though.
Overall, these are small numbers. Well,
I don't think it takes that long to make a decision.
It's not a decision. It's usually something going wrong at that point. People usually decide right away whether or not they want to keep a baby. And if you're around a pregnant woman,
in general, we're pretty unified. This is a bit extreme,
hormones.
though. Like, I just want to.
Yes, we're
pretty unified. This is fucking. It's extreme, and it's sad.
It's disgusting.
Yeah, and I'd like to not even hear it as a viable option in the future. That's all. So let's go with the debate, man.
To agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people want?
I hate to bring it up real quick, but I just like to point out too that during COVID, when there was a big discussion about the right to choose and what to put in your body and a right to their person's body, it was laughed at that, oh, well, you need to take the vaccine, but a woman can choose what she wants in her body. Like, I do find that juxtaposition kind of funny. That
I'm right there with you. Sure.
We weren't allowed to choose what we put in, but they're like, listen, the right to choose. But it's not across the board. Sorry, let's keep going.
Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot.
Never happened.
She didn't want that.
That happened in
Her
Texas.
husband didn't want that.
Right, okay. By the way, is that an outlier? Is that an outlier, just like third trimester abortions, or does that happen all the time on the regular? Just curious.
I mean, it only happened because Roe v. Wade got overturned.
But it's an outlier. I know. I'm not asking why it happened. I'm saying of who it happens to. It's probably like the same amount of people who have third trimester abortions, correct?
Yeah, it's
not a large
small,
statistic, but it's an outlying example.
Right. It's not large, but it happens. Yeah, just like third trimester abortions. Very scary. Very scary.
For a 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term.
He already said he's for exceptions. So I mean, that's
and I
weird.
pledge to you.
That's not going to matter.
When Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. Right. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President.
Unless it's vaccine.
Well, there she goes
Sorry,
again.
brief
It's
pause.
a lie.
Yep.
I'm not.
Brief pause. Apologies. I want to stick to getting through this debate, but I just can't ignore, a powerful example, even though we're backtracking. So it's the last time I'll read a comment regarding this, but all right. My mom had to carry a deceased infant for 2 months until she delivered naturally.
Oh.
All right. That's That's
How
absolutely
long
horrible.
ago was this?
We got Dr.
From Dr.
J
Banana in the chat.
Yeah,
Oh,
feel
Dr. J
free.
Banana? Damn.
I'm
Ask Dr.
sorry.
J how long ago was that? That's fucking crazy.
That is insanity. That is disgusting.
Yeah, that should not have happened.
Yeah, like, and they know it was deceased. They made her still carry it. Like, that's just fucked up. That's cruel and unusual punishment.
You can definitely find the examples. They're out there. Even if we call them anomalies or outliers, they're there. And it was in the 60s.
I would just surmise it by exceptions do not make the rule. Like there's always going to be an exception. It shouldn't change the rule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to,
Thank you, Dr. J.
Thank you.
Not to downplay anybody's personal experience or anything like that. I mean,
no.
That's a horrible thing that happened, but like, unless that's the majority, it's.
I would hope that would never carry to present day. I would hope.
Yeah, I would also hope not.
Okay. All right. Please, moving on.
Signing
Yes.
a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart, and they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting.
Are we for safe, legal, and rare? Remember that motto about abortions? How do we feel about that today? Safe, legal,
could someone
and rare.
give me the rundown on that?
Yeah. Same.
If it's safe to abort without risking the babe,
Abortion
the mother?
is safe. You're safe to do it. It's legal to do it, but it's rare. We're not allowing it to happen all the time, but we do it if it's hurting the mother, if the baby's going to be deformed, yada yada yada. Safe, legal, but rare. That was like Clinton era, Democrat.
Yeah, that sounds very similar to the like what kind of Trump stance on it was that no one likes to give him the credit for rape, incest, or medical complications. Like if it's gonna possibly kill the mother, I think that's a decision that she and only she should have to make.
Yes.
If she was raped, I don't think she should have to bring anything to term.
So this is.
And if it was incest, I also think the same.
I think it still stands the test of time.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. I wanted to try to find anything on that. The Atlantic.
I hate the filthy Clintons and they're evil, but
yeah, I'm on the Atlantic looking for that too.
Even the worst people do some good, though.
It says
it's a catchy slogan, and as long as during that safe period, it's safe to choose.
Yeah, but rare is also the third word there, so it's not like there's not this broad idea of like, from the first month to the 9th month, go ahead, have fun with it. Like rare gives the idea that it's not this open and like it's not looked down upon, but it's not our first go-to. Like let's try some, condoms, plan B,
maybe rare is a wife with a husband that doesn't want to have a child with them.
Yeah, rare is still rare. I mean, no matter who you define rare as, early. It's still rare. Like it's still somebody who doesn't want to.
I don't think I'd constitute that as rare.
No, I get it. I get it, guys.
I mean,
they mean the baby is rare.
I would like that in the safe category.
It's not a well done baby.
Early. Yeah,
it's a rare baby.
Hell yeah.
There we go.
Yeah,
125.
That's what they mean by rare.
Yeah. I like medium rare babies.
Medium rare.
Medium. Okay.
All right.
Rare's a little too bloody for me.
Medium rare.
Too raw. Still breathing. Cow's
I can still hear the baby
still mooing. Yeah. Baby's still babying, whatever babies do. I don't know what sound babies make. They don't move,
right out of me.
Dr. Banana. That's the director's cut ending to Butterfly Effect.
Dr. J said that, or
I loved that movie.
What is Dr. J's comment?
No, it's the same thing. The baby unaligned itself with the cord.
He and Bill concorded himself. Like Ashton Kutcher was like, "Fuck that '70s show. I'm out, dude."
That was my favorite ending. I'm glad that was the first one I saw.
I remember that. All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
I dropped all my marijuana ash everywhere, by the way. Just everywhere. And I have a fan on. So it fell on the ground and there was like, it was awesome. It was like a magic trick that just happened.
You're like ganja phobia, right?
Yeah.
That's
just
one of the reasons I miss having you around, man.
black ash.
Easy access. No, well, that, but easy access.
Easy access.
What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially
didn't
now with
answer
the
that question.
50-50 and
Let's see,
essentially
though. Sometimes it's
50-50 in
long.
both Senate and the House.
I will give it
She's
to
not
you
gonna
when
get
he
the
doesn't
vote.
answer
She
it.
can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated?
So far,
He's
you got
trailing
it.
off
It
again.
ended up being a total catastrophe. The student
What are we
loans,
talking
and
about,
then
vetoes?
her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said,
that.
we'll do it
I don't
again. We'll
care.
do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of
How
people that
unfair
had
for
to
these
pay off their
students that my
student
Supreme
loans.
Court
They didn't
knocked
get it
down
for
their
free.
student
But they were
loan
saying it's the same
forgiveness.
way that they talked about that they talk about
Bro.
abortion.
But if I could just get
Bro, dude, I opened my Gmail like about a month ago, and I was like, I got an email from like the White House. I was like, what the fuck is this, dude? They're like, hey, Joshua Borsuk, did you go to Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale between like 2005 and like 2009? I was like, yeah, yes, I did, dude. What of it? Why would you like to know? And they were like, well, dude, my man Biden here, he's wiping all that debt. You don't gotta do nothing about it, bro. You just sit back, you kick your feet up, bro, and you reap the benefits, dude. Thank you for being in America, bro. I appreciate you. And I was like, I don't gotta do nothing. And they're like, nah, dude, that's it, dude. You opened the email. That's all you had to do, dude. And now you got no debt left, bro. America. And I was like, damn, am I being bribed right now? Or should I like, but it's legit. Like my AI, I got an email the other day from the White House, like legit. I'm not like, it's not like whitehouse.africa.
Spicoli?
Yeah, it wasn't like, hello, brother man, thank you for coming to the White House. We appreciate you all and your help. It wasn't like that. It was legit. Like, my student loan debt is gone thanks to Biden. Trump didn't do that. Biden said, hey, come on, man, let me see your debt, man. Let me bring your debt over here. Get that shit
How
out of
much
my
was
face,
it?
man. Oh, dude.
I'm gonna give your debt the corn pop treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably like 5 figures, touching 6.
All right, so hey, that was good.
Massive W
it was
for
the
you.
Art Institute. So when
Yeah.
she's talking about forgiving college debt, bitch ain't lying, okay? Bitch is being
Wait, did
serious.
you say an art institute?
Yeah, the reason why it got forgiven is because
Never
that
mind.
school went under. Exactly. Yeah. Overcharged, overpriced, and the school went under, and that they're like, I'll tell you what, that's our bad. You can have that money back. We shouldn't have given them that money anyways. So
Yeah, I have no issue with student debt, and I don't buy any of the hatred. It's not fair because I had to. Well, things have changed. Times are tougher. Roll with
College
it.
is a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
because
yep.
it's a lot
Everything
more
is. Everything is.
administrative.
and just the whole tactic of being like, the only way you're gonna get rich and smart is if you go to college and you take out like $100,000 loan. Like that was a thing that was really pushed to people. Like my parents believed that was a thing.
Oh, I remember.
So
that.
like it wasn't
We
just
all went
like
through this shit.
stupid people. It was like, well, people were literally being told the only way you get a good, like they were saying, fuck trades. Don't worry about a trade. Trades are for the poors, man. Nobody makes good money in a trade.
My pre-college fund money went to my bail, America.
I went into the trades.
Smart man. And he's the only guy doing good right now. I'm in the trades now after many a year of being in the arts. Call it the farts. Let's keep going with the
Fart smeller.
with
Yeah.
the debates.
Congrats on the debt.
Thank you. Are you it being forgiven or the debt in the first place?
No, on it being forgiven.
I thought you were just congratulating me.
debt.
Congrats on the debt. That's awesome, dude. Was that like 50K down the hole? That's what's up, dude. That's what's up.
And yeah, agreement with my boy White Dragon. Biggest lie ever told, ever sold to us was you got to go to college so you can be successful. Yeah, get the F out of here.
And like literally at 17, because I graduated just a touch early because I was born in upstate New York. So you start kindergarten like 6 months early. So I should yada, yada, yada. But I was like 17 going into college. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But my parents were like, do it. Just like pushing me like, okay, fine. I'll fucking do it. You know, I was like, I had like, you know, but they were like, oh, whatever. You're just being young and stupid.
Yeah. I got the same talk.
You know what
Till
I mean?
I was roasted.
So, all right, more debating.
Yeah.
Yo, Adam changed positions. I'm not a fan of this new position. I don't like. Okay, there we go. Yeah, legs open. I like 12 and was that 12 and 3? I'm not a fan of 1 and 3. I like 12 and 3. Let's.
You will appreciate that manscape while that debate is on, sir.
Let's keep them open, brother man. Okay.
Yes or no? Because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris,
I like that.
Time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women.
Do you see the play on words? She's not carrying it to term being the proper amount of time the baby is born in naturally. She's not talking about third trimester. She's not talking about 2 terms specifically. So I feel like that's like the workaround. Because I mean, literally, we just saw a video of a guy talking about a live baby being realived and then unalived. So like
this was the part of
laugh at it or not,
hypothetical.
Okay, but laugh at it or not, the hypothetical was justified and was being agreed with. So the idea that like it's hard for me to say that that hypothetical isn't being applied.
It's one Democrat's position. The governor of Virginia.
Georgia.
I know, but it wouldn't be far-fetched to me to seeing one radical state allowing that. I'm not saying the federal government allows that, but one more so Democratic state, the normal is like, yeah, you know, we'll let this decision fly. And whether their idea or their heart was in the right place or not, I'm not debating that. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised that's a lie.
All right, well, apply the same what-ifs to what this orange radical says.
Hello, OG Shamrock. Welcome. All right.
Of America, and understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women.
Is that? I need to. Are any of us familiar with that? So
yeah,
because of his abortion ban,
true.
in vitro.
In vitro fertilization.
In vitro is not a thing?
Because some of the more Christian-leaning states are leaning that those embryos are live babies.
Yeah,
should be treated as such and are threatening to prosecute
So was that
doctors
so? Like the
die.
embryos need to come from an abortion? I don't understand.
No, the embryos that are used to help women get pregnant, where they'll separate the egg and the sperm from.
No, but what does that have to do with abortion?
That embryo is a baby. They're considering that embryo a baby, and it's not a guaranteed procedure.
Right. So for IVF to get that embryo, a lady kind of has to donate her eggs.
Mm-hmm.
So is in vitro where another lady has another lady's eggs?
It could be.
And then a surrogate mother is where a sperm gets put in.
A surrogate would carry a baby for someone else.
So
accurate.
what is it called when a lady gets a male sperm and takes it to term, but it's not her? Is that's just adoption, or is that just a different type of adoption? Like, what's the difference between? So in vitro is just a different lady has someone else's eggs, someone else's sperm. Is that?
Well, no, it could be a myriad of things. In vitro just means it takes place outside the uterus.
Right, but someone has to give birth to said egg. Correct?
Yeah, they have to gestate. They can't grow the egg outside of a body.
Right.
So they either help the mother get pregnant by making that connection with sperm to egg.
Right. So does
or
mother
move it to a different,
Here,
move the egg to a different
So
host.
normally is what I'm just trying to understand before, and Eli, please go ahead after this, is where probably a mother who's not producing eggs gets someone else's eggs who's been fertilized and she can take it, or not
Could
all
be.
the time. Okay.
Yeah,
Could be.
it's covered. As he said, a myriad is an accurate way to cover it.
No, I understand. I understand
IVF
it's a plethora of things. I
Right.
get that.
Procedure that helps individual or couples get pregnant, and IVF procedures involve several steps known as IVF cycle. First, patient takes fertility drugs, stimulate their ovaries to produce many eggs.
But
The
then
eggs
how does
are then
that follow into
retrieved
the
from
abortion?
the ovaries?
Thing? How does that follow into the Roe v. Wade being removed? Because now, like, what part of an abortion is getting the eggs from a mother? Like, how
The
is
egg
that?
the egg is injected. Okay, an egg is fertilized by injecting a single sperm into the egg or mixing the egg with sperm in a petri dish.
I get that. But
So right
The
there,
baby.
they consider that a baby. As soon as sperm breaks cell
That's
wall,
insane.
they consider that a baby. And if they do anything to harm that baby or it dies, they can be prosecuted for that.
So does that also fall under like Plan B? Like if you don't pull out, are you fertilizing that egg? I'm all for Plan B. I mean, the morning after should not be
a group in
outlawed.
Texas just got shot down at the Supreme Court that was trying to outlaw one of the drugs used for that.
Which is weird because like you don't want abortions, but you don't want to allow medication that can prevent abortions from being a necessity. So like, what are we gonna outlaw condoms, Plan B, birth control, and abortions, and then just have the baby and deal with it?
They want you to have babies so they can control you.
But let's be honest here. Let's be honest here. It's conservatives who are against abortions, yet it's only leftists probably who are getting abortions. So it's funny, like conservatives should be all for it. Like, yeah, we got no more generations of these fucks coming on. Do it. Abort yourselves. We're the ones having babies. Y'all are not. Y'all are aborting your babies. So the conservatives actually should be kind of roundabout for it in a way,
They're not ready
like
for that 3D.
Kind of
They're not ready for that 3D chess, bro. They want that principle as the tagline to run on.
Jesus
the
wouldn't
separation
like
of church and state.
My favorite.
How about let's do the separation of show and debate?
We've been doing that.
Heyo.
Who are working one to try and get the health care she needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF,
Okay.
I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader.
Interesting, because
They
we were
know
just
that,
talking
and
about
everybody
that.
else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
Answer it.
Why don't you ask her
Why-
that question?
why don't you
That's
answer
the
the
problem.
question, would you
Because
veto?
under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question, would you veto?
you could do
Why is she allowed to
abortions
talk
in the
over?
7th month,
She
the
hasn't
8th
forgotten.
month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby
Ralph
aside,
Northam.
and then we
We just
determine
watched
what
it.
we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security.
Oh.
We know it's an issue that's important.
No, they don't hold their
Borders
foot
are.
to the fire with that. They don't make her respond to, okay, yeah, like about the, like she could have, well, unfortunately, Mr. Trump was mistaken in the video that he watched because Governor Ralph Northam was taken completely out of context and how he was speaking on that situation. It was very in a hypothetical type of situation. This was not based on any type of, but they didn't. So like that allows bullshit to happen. That allows conjecture to happen because they didn't make her answer that question. They allowed her to skirt that question, going back to Eli's point that they're giving her more of the benefit than the critique just in general right now, mainstream media.
Yeah, it's very softball.
I expected no less from the mainstream media. That's just how it goes.
Across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings.
That answers the question.
And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported.
Which also
And
funded
that
Ukraine
bill
out the ass. Let's not, come on,
more
stop it.
border
stop it,
agents
stop
on
it,
the border
stop
to
it.
help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States.
This is their thing where she's going to say, and Donald Trump told the Republicans not to pass it because he wanted to use it for his ability to get in. When majority of the bill went to, I believe, funding Ukraine. A lot of, like, more than half the bill, the money was for funding Ukraine and not for our border.
There was a lot of fat, and they refused to trim it. Yes.
And said nothing about us.
I'm already looking it up.
Said nothing, like there was weird things about how they were going to view asylees and asylum seekers too, I believe. Joe, just tell us to pause when you get it, when you feel like you got something.
Well, you'll see. I'll post it in the chat.
Well, I'd like to add, I find it interesting, just a little foresight perhaps. Shamrock, one of our OGs, she finished the debate already, and she already has a take, which is interesting to know, knowing that we're still, at the beginning here.
We're not the beginning by any stretch.
I love Donald J. Trump. She does. She's a supporter like myself. But he didn't do well tonight. He needs to stick to his policies, facts, numbers, and stats. So interesting.
I do feel like right here we're starting to see him get a little worked up. We're starting to get into where he's kind of, getting unhinged, as they say.
He'll flail a bit.
Yeah. Let's see.
States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first, and I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get
all
your
that mock debate she did.
Ask, though, why did you try to kill
did
that
its
bill
job
successfully so that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason.
What is that video on police activity? They did, again, granted, it's one thing, but the residents were claiming she's eating a cat. I don't know if she was eating the cat, but she killed the cat. It was
was some white lady.
No, that was a black woman. Nope. Not the video I saw. I don't know what you're talking about there, but the video I saw was a black woman that they had arrested because she had already murdered a neighbor's cat, and the residents thought she was eating it. This is all body cam footage.
White Dragon is correcting Trump, I believe, by saying the ducks, Don, not dogs and cats.
Yeah, there was
that was a black woman in Canto.
Yeah,
Ohio.
There was some lady in Ohio who stopped the man from eating a duck. He was like plucking a duck. He was trying to like eat the duck, and she's like, "Excuse me, can give me that?"
Ducks are edible.
Yeah, I don't think you do it alive.
I don't see what the problem there is.
There's a humane thing there, but you're totally right. You can eat a duck. Ducks are delicious. I'm assuming
people hunt them all the time. I've seen them mounted on plenty of walls.
Yeah,
they're a little greasy, but they taste good.
Usually kill them before you eat them, though. There's like a humane part. You know how you do it?
Okay. With a little context here, it was a Haitian family or Haitians in Springfield, Ohio.
Yes.
You know, their culture. It's it's
voodoo.
I don't know if there's a culture clash here. No, not even the voodoo. Like they will eat. But they gonna eat.
Yeah.
It may not look commonplace to us American folk, but yeah, duck is an edible thing.
Of course, you just shouldn't, maybe do it in a park in front of people. Maybe you should be a little more respectful about it. But again, it's a culture thing. But still, it's like, well, hold up, maybe don't eat someone's cat either,
Yeah, no.
Just be careful. I don't know about dogs. I don't know what he said about dogs. I think he meant ducks, as White Dragon said.
Yeah, right.
And they like Trump. What I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase: make America great again. She's destroying this country, and if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is the
people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So
yeah, I mean,
Fox News said it was true.
Stop, Trump.
Yeah, damn. But I mean, also too, this guy is only citing ABC reaching out and confirming things. So it's not necessarily a fair assumption, because if it's only ABC, are they checking everything? I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong.
The cops in the town.
Yeah, but one town.
Yeah.
The town he's claiming.
Right.
So also back to the border bill. If you look in the chat, there's a link with congress.gov in it.
How much was the bill and how much was for Ukraine? That's all we need to know.
You could just do Control F and see that Ukraine comes up nowhere in the bill.
Yeah, I don't necessarily, then something is kind of afoot there, that maybe it's not blatantly saying Ukraine. Maybe there's defense, there's weapons, there's something like that. But yeah, I don't know. That's interesting.
Let's see. Weapons comes up in section 203A subsection B2, the percentage of seizure of narcotics, currency, weapons, and ammunition and other illicit items at inbound and outbound operations at ports of entry and checkpoints and other locations, blah, blah, blah.
I hate Snopes, by the way.
What's
You
the name of
remember
the
when-
bill? What's the name of the bill?
It's that link I just sent you. It's the text of the bill. S4361, Border Act of 2024.
I remember when it was revealed how much the Clintons have contributed to Snopes,
What's that?
which just leads to me not trusting anything ever.
Let's keep playing.
Maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten
Don't
by
argue with the
people that
moderator,
went
Trump.
there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you
Leave it
respond
alone,
to the rest of
Trump.
what you've heard.
You talk about extreme. You know,
There we
this
go. We
is,
got a
I
laugh
think,
in.
one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain,
The old
including
guard.
the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a four-star
Okay, hang
general,
on.
has said he has contempt.
So, I don't know. This is National Security and Border Act 2024. This says assistance to Ukraine provides $15.1 billion for continued U.S. support to Ukraine through military training. It says assistance to Israel provides $10.6 billion support to Israel, including $4 billion for Israeli missile defense capabilities. The next
Where are
thing,
you reading that from?
this is appropriations.senate.gov. I can share the link. It's a PDF. It says,
Way too
Shoot it
much.
over.
and
Way
this is-
too much money.
And this is also, on top of the 15.1 billion. This is procurement assistance. In total, provides over 43.6 billion to be invested in the U.S. industrial base to increase U.S. weapons and munitions production capacity, invest in U.S. submarine industrial base, and enhance U.S. and allied stockpiles, including 13.5 billion to be built by the U.S. industrial base to rearm Ukraine, 24.25 billion to be invested in the U.S. industrial base to replenish U.S. weapons provided to Ukraine and Israel, 3.01 billion to enhance the U.S. submarine industrial base through infrastructure. That's something different. That doesn't mention Ukraine. That doesn't mention Ukraine. I'll share this in the chat.
I hope this is mentioned to some degree in this very debate because, I mean, it would play to Trump's strength. He's been pretty brazen about how we're spending far too much on the Ukraine conflict. It's just a shame right now with the American people hurting so damn much.
Well, he should bring it up now while they're talking about the bill.
And if
shared it
only
in
we were
the-
there to tell him.
I shared
Yeah.
it in the chat. It's in the Zoom chat now. You can click the link.
It's there, yeah.
And that I don't know. That seems like the one we're talking about. That has a little different, more of a breakdown.
Go ahead and rock,
What we got debate
rock the play button while he's doing the reading
Contempt for
there.
the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term.
Insanity.
And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond
Yeah.
here.
Hey, Crystal, welcome, sweetie.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people whose were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals.
That shit would look horrible if this guy goes about with what he's saying. Let's hear how he describes it. But the idea that he's going to go in and deport 11 million people, like, how's that going to look? Like, just visually. Just like, like families being ripped out of houses, being thrown on buses, and they're being snapshotted of people crying and being ripped apart from people and being like, how's this going to look? It's going to look
I'm
ridiculous.
already low-key horrified to hear him try to explain this process, which is going to be, it needs to be so delicately handled, and he's not delicate.
Yeah, he's not a delicate.
Look at Project Wetback when we tried it in the early 19th century and how that went.
What'd you just call me?
No, that's what the
government
program
I got it.
was literally named Project Wetback.
Yeah, that's
Yo,
so
stop
funny.
talking about my mother.
Illegal is illegal, though, and like I empathize with them about as much as I empathize with the families of criminals when criminals are ripped away from their families to be sentenced. Like if it's a crime, there's a consequence for the crime.
Yeah.
If you get caught committing a crime, there's a clear consequence. Illegal immigration is consequential to deportation. So
I respect it.
It's a little
That's
more
not something I would have
nuanced.
said back in the day, but I respect it.
if you play a stupid fucking game, you get a stupid fucking prize.
But
It is what it is.
We have to show that there is a way things are done, and we have to abide by that and make examples.
And that's coming from a household where my mother had to come into this country the right way. So I think everybody else should do it the same fucking way.
And
Same
also,
She had to fight to be here, and she had to fight to stay here. If you're not willing to fight, you don't have the right.
Also,
Yeah.
too, how do you not look like the bad person? If the person before you said, if the person's, if you're moving into a house and the person who had the house before you said, all right, I'm letting everybody move in here, and you had to move into a house with everybody there, like, how do you not look like the bad person kicking out people who shouldn't be there? You know what I mean? Like how do you go about that measure?
There's no way to look like some ambivalent, angel doing this. You're gonna look like a villain. There's, nobody ever sees law and order being enforced as ugly as it has to be sometimes, and says, "Oh, what a sweet little bit of footage or something." It's just, it is what it is. But we accept it.
But you have to play it smart. You can't play it like a fucking crazy dictator style where you're just going in and busting people out and busting people out. Like you can't do it like that.
That's why I'm terrified of how he's going to explain this.
But it's an unprecedented problem that's going to need an unprecedented solution.
You're right.
And if we really want to put America first, that means putting Americans first. And those people, I mean, they're not Americans. They didn't enter the right way. They don't meet the bare minimum requirement. And they shouldn't get any benefits of living here as a result of that.
But it just sucks is because it's not their fault. They were kind of told
It's
to
not.
come here. They were told, hey, everything's open. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Everything will be cool when you come here. Like even though Kamala Harris repeated all of a sudden.
Do not come. Do not
So
come.
let me see if he disappoints, because given Shamrock, who I know is a big supporter, thinking that he performed badly, I'm nervous at this very response.
Yo, when she says that, I do feel like I'm watching 2020 all over again, in the sense that like Trump just like this was the debate. Whoever won this debate wins the election, in my opinion. Because I don't even know if there's going to be another debate after this.
What, say again?
I don't even know if there's going to be another debate after this. Why would there?
Is there?
I don't know if there's going
They
to
don't
be.
have one planned.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought they had a third one planned, but he did one with. I mean, and it's also unfair. He did a debate with Biden. Now he's doing a debate with Trump. I mean, sorry, he's doing a debate with Kamala. Like it is like that, right? In and of itself is unprecedented. He did 2 presidential debates with 2 different people. Like that's fucking crazy too. But no one gives him any benefit of doubt, like any credit for that. Just like no one's had to do that before. Have to totally switch up, how you're approaching this, what your tactics could be. They didn't have to switch up anything because it's the same side attacking the same person. If anything, they have more of an advantage now because they took out less of things he could attack. It's unprecedented, It really is.
That's the reoccurring theme for 2024. So, all right.
Many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse
President
me,
Harris,
the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let
Is
you
he giving out his own
Well, I think this
stats
is so-
against the? Okay.
What happened? What happened?
He's giving out stats that are counter to the FBI. I
Which is
mean, I
why-
don't trust any 3-letter agencies, but
That's why they don't like him, though.
Yeah, right. No, so he's going to play into that, but I don't know. I mean,
that's
man.
if true, that's interesting. Like they're saying violence, crime is down, but what he's saying is, well, they didn't include any of the major cities, though.
Yeah,
so of
agreed.
course, in their, if that's the case, I'd love to know if that's the case. Like maybe Joe's looking that up right now for us, like the fucking eagle-eye hawk he is, bro.
Oh no, I'm back. I got the retort to your National Security Act one you sent me.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I don't know what that's a summary of. It goes over a bunch of different departments too, but that's not the bill that failed in the Senate.
And is there a way like where you can definitively prove that?
This is the bill that failed in the Senate. It's in the text.
So what is this bill? Like if there's a
this
name,
is the whole 292 page, 118th Congress.
Well, yeah, no. This
4361.
This was an appropriation of the bill. This wasn't.
No. This is the vote on the bill to continue. This was the bill. There was no appropriations or anything else tied to it. It was just, here's the bill. Will we pass this from Senate to Congress? And there's one Republican that voted yes.
So I'm confused in how do we fact check this? Because I'm assuming Senate.gov isn't.
So your link is for a government website, for appropriations website run by a different committee.
No, it's by
I can't find the path to that link of the summary. So
I don't know what that means if you can't find it, but if you can't, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the implication of that there is.
Didn't you get it from a
it's only
.gov
on that website,
Josh?
is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, it's appropriations.senate.gov. It's a .senate.gov, so it's a Senate.
So it's government sourced.
Yeah, but
he's saying he can't find the path to it.
It's not just about the the title is misleading because it's a whole bunch of categories. That's not what the bill was.
Well, it's
that's not what was up for vote.
The title of it says National Security and Border Act Summary.pdf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it doesn't talk about the border at all in there. It talks about Ukraine and energy and everything else.
Right, but in the thing you're showing, it doesn't talk about Ukraine at all. So it's kind of interesting.
Ukraine wasn't in the border bill.
From what
I sent you is the 282-page actual border bill.
Right. Yeah. I obviously right now I can't go through 292 pages at the moment. I'll take your word for it.
Control F will find.
How dare you, Josh?
Yeah, but just because it doesn't say the words Ukraine doesn't mean they're not strategically trying to be a little more deceitful. I mean, an omnibus bill always has all these things packed into it that both sides can get their way. So it's not far-fetched for me to think that Democrats have some aid in that bill for Ukraine. I mean, it's also not an original thought of mine either. I'm not claiming that I made this thought up. It's out there. So I'm just maybe the problem is they're being more strategic in how they're aiding Ukraine and what they're using it for. I don't know. That's more an assumption. I can't say that's a fact, but
that I can see how you would get to that assumption, and that does happen, but not at this phase in the progressional path from bill to law. What you're talking about does happen, but this didn't even get to where that would normally happen. Normally, yes, pork belly spending, a popular bill gets a bunch of extra shit tacked onto it. We're held hostage. It didn't even get to that point.
So do you know what the thing I sent you was in regards to?
I'd have to read through the whole thing, but it looked like more of a budgetary thing.
Interesting. I mean, we'll save that for a different time. We'll keep doing the debate thing, but I'm going to juxtapose that with the thing you just sent because I would love to know more about that. That is very interesting because I didn't come to that conclusion myself. I'm just more repeating what I've heard other people kind of talk about as far as that bill goes, and it seems a lot of more credible people have said that was some funding in there for Ukraine as opposed to the security bill. So I'd like to know kind of how it was worded. I guess look at it myself. But
right. Quick to bounce off of what Trump just said. Please. Regarding the FBI, I found some credibility. I was first at the FBI's actual statistics, very interactive, and I went through a bunch of spots. Now I found something from the Independent here. FBI says crime has plummeted to start 2024, but is missing a big part of the data. Opening statement here is data informing the FBI's figures is supplied voluntarily by law enforcement agencies across the U.S. and do not include major metropolitan areas, including L.A. and New York, where crime is historically high. He ain't kidding. He's not kidding.
And Independent really isn't on Trump's side either.
No, man, no. I love the independent.uk. Okay, no, they are the Independent. Okay, I legit. The FBI has released its first quarterly figures of 2024, which it says shows a continuation of a historic decline in violent crime from last year, but has ignored a big factor in the data, which is they ignored the biggest crime areas, cities. So Trump wasn't lying. Here, I'll send
put the link in the chat there for him.
Yeah, you little schmuckoids. I got you. I don't hate you, brother. I love you. All right.
While you're doing that, let's keep rolling.
Yeah, run it.
Rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
They were waiting for this moment with all the charges on them.
Where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted
Do it now.
with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest of them.
He's not wrong.
And you
Hate to
saw
break
that
it
with
to
the
you.
decision that came down just recently.
He's
from
not
the
right,
Supreme
but he's not
Court.
wrong, my
I'm
friend.
winning most of them. But those are cases.
You've never
it's
seen a
called
more weaponized
weaponization.
DOJ
Never
in my
happened
life.
in this country. They weaponized
Never
the
seen a more
Justice
corrupt
Department.
president.
Every one of those cases was involved
Bullshit.
with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the
Joe
Attorney
Biden.
General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House
Bullshit.
again.
Joe, you know that's
Understand,
bullshit.
This is
You know
someone
that's
who was
bullshit,
openly
right? You know
I
what
know.
she's saying, and she's being very hyperbolic and saying he's immune from anything. He's immune from any official presidential conduct. Anything that he does
They
that's not
certainly make
presidential, he's not
It's certainly
immune
a
from.
broad umbrella.
Oh, no.
Especially when he's in office.
We gotta be. I'm being verbatim and very to the point when need be. When I'm wrong or when you're correct, she's being completely hyperbolic here. He's not immune from
Supreme
everything.
Court decision was terrible.
But okay, you're doing like a politician thing. He's not immune from everything. He's only
No, he's not
immune from official
everything,
acts
but it's
that
certainly
qualified
no
in the
easy
presidency. That's done on. He's not immune from everything Donald Trump does. That's a ridiculous notion, and that's a hyperbolic notion. All right, let's keep going.
He's still got plenty to be accounted for, even presidential immunity aside.
But that's not the point. That's not the point. What she said is incorrect. I understand there's faults in Trump, and we'll get that when he talks. When he talks, we very vehemently. I've sat here and said Trump's wrong on many occasions. Like, oh, incorrect. We've talked about abortion things. We're talking about when Kamala's wrong. I think it's only fair when Kamala's wrong, we do the same thing. We don't then shift the topic
I'll give
to
you
Trump.
it's hyperbolic.
But we don't shift the topic when Kamala's wrong to, oh, well, Trump's wrong. We say, yeah, Kamala's wrong, and that's what we stick to. We don't have to shift it into Trump being wrong. We just say, okay, Kamala's wrong, and we move forward. You know, we're not trying to, we're trying to be fair. We're trying to be fair.
She doesn't care what comes out of her mouth being true or false. She just wants it to be persuasive enough for
Trump
the
too.
most ignorant voter to,
Trump
go
too.
ahead.
Yeah, you have to play to the lowest common denominator, and I mean she's not wrong in it. You could count as hyperbolic, but it ain't a lie.
What?
That it gave presidents a level of immunity that
Under
they
official
shouldn't have.
acts. So, are you in agreement that Obama should be charged for killing? Was it Abdullah? No, not Abdullah. The other guy.
For his drone strikes
Yes.
and stuff. Some countries think that,
but that's okay. No, do you?
But not us. No.
Okay, so
Commander in chief.
You have
That's
the
different.
same. You have the same idea. While Trump was president, while he's commander in chief, those actions are immune. It's the things
That was also an action of war in a foreign country. He's the commander in chief of the military.
Okay,
that's a military strike. So
right.
As a military
but it was still a presidential action. He has presidential authority to do things. So it's still a presidential action, whether it be military or not. That's neither here nor there. The broader example, the broader idea we're focusing on, it was a presidential action, and that's what he's immune
That's
from.
the immunity.
But no American court's going to prosecute him.
But
foreign courts, they
no
could.
shit. Yeah.
That happens.
Here's some quick cringe. Sorry to get involved here, but Taylor Swift has officially endorsed Camel Toe. Now we got a bunch of Swifties running around saying, "Oh, I'm gonna vote for Kamala."
Was that really a surprise? Were you thought she was going to come out with a MAGA
right?
hat on?
No, not at all.
You know what doesn't
waiting.
make sense to me is the idea that all these, like, you already know when Taylor Swift comes out and endorses Kamala Harris, who is she bringing over? Most of the people in entertainment, stuff like that, they're already leftist fans. Like, you're trying to find the people in the middle. You're trying to find the independents. And, like, when Trump comes out and panders to conservatives, how's he getting any independence? When Kamala comes out and panders to far left and, says crazy, like, how is she getting any independence? They're just kind of coming out and, like, stroking the dicks of the people.
Yeah,
right.
They're glazing the tribe they already have in the pocket.
I thought the point was to try to get a little more moderate, get a little more away from what you're known for, and get some of those people who are on the fringe. But fuck the middle, am I right? Those
My
pussies.
dear brother, the days of trying to win over the other side are far behind us.
Can you tilt your camera? Because it's not my. There you go. Sit like that. Perfect. You get a
Said
little
it before, and I'll say it again. In recent history, we've never been closer to civil war.
Yeah.
No arguments.
I
there.
hope not. I
hope not too.
I
hope not, but I mean, it seems like both sides are steamrolling towards that path.
Especially with the polarization, like when one side can't talk to another. Like, I have some people on the left that I consider my friends. I don't necessarily consider myself on the right, but because I have any defense of Donald Trump, those friends who are obviously on the left consider me on the right by no fault of my own, as just pointing out some things that I think are in defense of him, just being kind of fair as opposed to being completely biased. And you're just, oh, look, you're on the right. So, like, I don't know how we step back from that. And to me, this debate right there is furthering that divide, that polarization,
Get back to it by the debate we've been having here.
Want to keep going? Let's keep going.
Yeah.
Look at her face. She's like, and he's just like, he's tired. He's done. This is past his bedtime. He's sleeping already.
He said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies.
Like they're doing.
Someone who has openly
Shut up.
expressed disdain
Shut up, stupid.
for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
to stop
Harris.
him.
He's so weird.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy.
Hate to say it, but
to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation.
We do have a lot.
I think he's got a point.
Yeah, while he throws his fit, he got grazed in the ear.
Dude, it's still a legitimate.
What is that?
Because his head was
what
turned.
that
I
means.
mean, are we
Like,
just going to overlook that?
just because he got lucky means he should be like cool with it? I don't understand what that means.
It doesn't mean he earned it.
Let me turn the other cheek.
What do you mean?
here.
It doesn't mean he earned it. He almost got shot in the head.
Yeah, and he had
What do you
the
mean he didn't
foresight
earn
to
it? I don't
stand there and
understand.
go Fight.
About as much as a soldier earns it when they get hit in the helmet instead of the head,
Dude, Theodore Roosevelt got shot in the chest and finished his speech.
Okay,
speech,
just because you get shot doesn't mean necessarily you're cool. I feel like if Trump still got shot in the head, like just got shot JFK style, the left would have been like, well, technically the bullet bounced off the glass and it was the glass that blew his brains out, not the bullet. So it's
there's no way we could have proven him as
it's
the
actually
intended
not
target.
a
It could
bullet
have been
shot.
going for anyone there.
The media and the left are treating this like it's hip hop, like he didn't get no street credit, only grazed his ear, it's just that nobody takes it seriously unless they respect Trump in any shape or form.
Like anytime anybody gets fucked up in any political violence in America, I'm like, that shouldn't happen. That's not us. That's not what we should do. Like,
we're not Russia. We don't take out political opponents. We vote.
That's the idea. And we're not we're not Russia, and we got to point out we're not the Clintons.
I forgot where I heard it from, but I think people are getting fed up of the illusion that they have the choice in voting. It's like how a magician forces you to pick a card. You think you have a choice in a 52 deck of card, but he's actually forcing you to pick a card whether you know it or not. And then you're putting it back in the deck, and he can guess it. Oh, you choose a 2 of hearts. But he actually knew you're going to choose a 2 of hearts because he forced you to pick that in a deck of 52.
Bullshit. What do I care? I got my 9 to 5, my kids, my bills.
My
coffee.
It's also the same reason I haven't voted in ever.
But you are now because you just don't like the other guy.
It's a cancer.
That's so cool. That's so cool. I like how Joe goes from like, dude,
whine about
it's an illusion. My vote doesn't matter to like, this guy's cancer. It doesn't even matter if the vote doesn't count. He's cancer. I'm voting against
symbolic's gonna have to be good enough.
Right. Yeah. It's just the feeling of voting against him. You're like, hell yes. That's all.
Y'all should change the I voted sticker to I eliminated cancer or something.
I killed, a cankerous orange.
The American dream is only just that, a lie. Yeah, you got to be asleep to believe it. George Carlin, all the way.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Big club winning it. All right, let's play this ish.
That went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs.
I like this
weapons.
ABC.
Now your campaign
always
says
busting
you don't.
chops.
You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have changed, and I'm going to every one of the at least every point that you've made, but in particular,
but they're not going to hold their feet to the fire.
Pennsylvania.
That was awesome.
That very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States, and in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil.
She's not wrong about that part, but remember all the time she was like, yo, Joe Biden wants to ban fracking. I'm for it. You know, like she never said specifically she wanted to as president. That's a semantic game we're playing, but we have many a time when she was like, ban fracking. Yo, Joe Biden wants to do it. You know, she never said she wanted to do it.
Hand in hand while he was touting it to the applause.
But there is something to say about
that. That oil's booming now.
Nope, she is not. She's not. I wish she would reflect more at the pump. I feel like it's kind of going up and down slowly, but oil is booming. We're just not seeing it, you know. Apparently, inflation's not happening. We're just seeing it happen for some reason. I don't know.
We're just all having a shared delusion.
No, it's actually the corporations. They're being greedy. It's price gouging.
Is the thing that happened.
No, it's not.
Currently experiencing higher than average. Yes.
No, we're being told it's price gouging though. It's not inflation. It's price gouging, man. This is
according to the
Kroger's just admitted to that in the lawsuit with the federal court.
That means everyone's guilty, dude. Kroger's admitted it. Everyone's guilty because
just like the abortions.
Of course, people take advantage of it. There are outliers. Yeah, exactly. There are third-tier abortions. There are third trimester abortions. It happens. You know, sometimes a grocery store chain comes out and admits they price gouge. It happens. You know.
All right. I'd like to read Steve Harloa dropping a
What's up, Steve?
Bomb. I think this one's to you, Joe. I mean, the shoe fits here, and it's not a huge diss or anything, but it doesn't matter if you're left or right, red or blue. The government doesn't give a F about you. Voting for the less evil is still voting for evil, voting for the chains of your own oppression. So, like, do you really think you're doing your like due diligence here, or doing your part as an American citizen by just voting for the person because you just don't like the other guy? Like, really? It's not because you agree with the convictions of the person that you would like to see in office
Yeah,
for.
that's how unlikable the other guy is.
He's so unlikable, he makes you like the other person. And that's extreme because that other person is pretty unlikable, but okay.
Listen,
Dude,
it's
if it
his
was a ham
opinion.
sandwich, I'd be voting for him over Trump.
God damn. Really? You're the hand sandwich guy? Swear to God, if it was a nice solid BBQ, it was an if. Swear to God, if this sandwich was a nice tuna
You ever have a
melt.
beef on weck?
No, but I want to now.
It's a Buffalo thing, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
What, Buffalo,
Yeah.
New York?
Yeah.
Wait, say it again.
Beef on weck.
You understand I'm from Rochester, right? Buffalo ain't too far away from where I
Oh,
am.
okay, so you know what a beef on weck is?
I don't, though. You know what a garbage plate is?
Like the nachos?
Nope. See, so okay.
Okay.
So hey, guess what? We both get a pass today. We're both cool. Don't worry about it. Okay. No beef on whack and no garbage plates for us. Let's
I just like the innuendo of beef on whack. All right, yes, play.
Yeah, I know it does sound kind of dirty, right?
Sounds fun.
What is beef on whack?
I was pretending to
Do not
know.
Do not come.
I feel like it's like this, like beef on whack. Oh, you want some beef on the whack? Here you go.
And you get one if you vote for Kamala Harris.
You damn right you do. All right.
Mm-hmm.
As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down. And name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump.
And
Well,
world
first of all, I wasn't
peace.
given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions.
Billions and
And when
billions and
people see
billions
it,
and
they are
billions.
even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now.
Yes, he did it to her. Do you remember?
familiar?
She's like, "Excuse me, I'm speaking. Excuse me, I'm speaking."
He just hit her
wait a
with
minute.
it. Does that sound familiar?
Oh
Did she
shit!
say anything?
Did he
to
just
that?
say? Does that sound familiar? Did he really say that?
He did say that.
No fuck.
12 years.
Oh my God! They took it down. No, they
Oh, you
didn't.
sons of bitches. Little bastards. Go to the Blaze.
Yo, no
Oh,
way. YouTube.
oh.
Why would YouTube take it down? That
I
doesn't
don't know,
make sense.
bro.
Because it was over like an hour and a half ago.
That doesn't
And
mean
that was the live
anything.
one.
Hey, yeah, I don't know. What do you know,
Whoa.
John?
Wow, that's weird.
In Pennsylvania.
We don't have that. All right. Well, we got to fucking. What the
We'll
fuck?
fact check that, and it is not true.
With President Biden's decision.
and approved the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe, because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues.
She will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the
have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that
This
president.
is the woman that withheld evidence that would have freed the man on death row.
$1 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars.
I can't.
Many,
it's not
many
letting
billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar?
Yes!
I missed that.
That's fucking hilarious.
She went out
Ha
to Minnesota.
ha.
Wanted to let criminals that
Oh my
killed
God, I
people,
can't
that
believe he
burned
got
down
that in.
Minneapolis. She went out and raised money to get him out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important, in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago.
Just mute your fucking mic. Now you fucked the...
to where I was, because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said,
mute yourself or something.
But if she won the election, the day after
you mess up the cameras when you
they'll go back
exit.
to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her.
He just got to give J6 up,
but
man.
We didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to...
Because, mind you, he's not, whether he knows it or not, he's not negating a difference between the people he told to peacefully protest and then those who started a riot. So because he hasn't still made that distinction between those two crowds, just because, yeah, you said people to peacefully protest, you still haven't condoned in this thus far the people who weren't doing as you asked. You know what I mean? So like he's kind of putting his foot in his mouth. He's not doing himself any favors by explaining it this way as he always does. That's what I'm saying. He's really just got to give J6 up and be like, listen, I wanted people to peacefully protest. I asked them to. There are a lot of people there who didn't do that, and it's a tragedy. And he should just stick with that and not just being like, you know, I don't think you can ever make it look good. You can't make it look good.
It's a very salient point. If he could just, you know, change up the way he delivers his stance for a change, it would be he would be able to overlook this thing. It just gets in his head every time, I think.
No, I'm just saying it's not even change his stance. It's give up and saying J6, it was bad. You're not changing your stance. You're just saying I
don't think it was bad.
Okay. Well,
I think it was bad.
That
also
that half of people who did fuck shit up, that was bad, right?
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, and it was bad when Trump said we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Come on, dude. Don't make me break out the 11-minute video of fucking everybody on the left saying you got to fight, you got to do, like, you got to, and them using the words fight nonstop before Trump has been in office. Like, just because someone uses that word doesn't mean
like it's got to be a whole nother podcast.
But it's also like saying
handled that.
Like violent video games cause people to murder. You know, it's like saying listen to rock music makes you a bad person. Just because someone says something doesn't make the onus on the person who said it.
Josh, do you remember the name of the politician, African American, at the BLM rally, literally telling the Antifa members and the kids out there, go out in the streets? You know, I forget her name. She is not well liked.
You know, Maxine Waters, you're saying?
Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
Yep.
He literally said, go out in the streets and, you know, tear it up.
Yeah, go interrupt them while they're eating dinner. Fire? You know, like go mess with them while they're eating dinner.
This isn't about Maxine Waters.
No,
it's about accountability, and it's about
president and accountability.
No, it's the idea of inciting violence, and because you said he used the words "fight like hell," when again,
or you're not going to have a country anymore.
Well, if it's about the president of the United States, then what about when Biden told people to put Trump in the crosshairs and someone shot at Trump?
How about if you don't vote?
When did Biden say that?
Oh, he did the day of. He said putting Trump in the crosshairs, but I forget the context, so I can't marry myself to the statement.
But we're quoting things out of context right now, right? Because he said go out and fight like hell, but then he went on to say go forth peacefully.
Yes.
So
here
you go.
If we're going to quote things out of context, we'll quote things out of context.
No, it's not quoting out of context. It's saying the word specifically fight like hell. You're using the words fight like hell, and that's inciting violence. I'm sorry, it's not an 11-minute video. It's a 9-minute video. Real quick, we're not going to play the whole thing. Here's Democrats saying the word fight.
Every single day. One, I'm a fighter and I'm relentless, but I'm a fighter and I'm relentless. A fighter and I'm relentless. I will fight like hell.
But the way I see it now is that we pick ourselves up and we fight back. That's what I think it's all about. We stand up and we fight back. We do not back down. We do not compromise. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. You can either lie down.
A clip of this times Democrats say fight.
No, it's a clip of everyone using the words you said were inciting violence. That's what it's a clip of.
Okay, but none of these people are standing in front of a mob.
These people are on the news. They have a platform.
The election was
no. It's not about who you're in front of. Remember, it's about what you're saying. It's about your inciting. So you're saying
he's
the incitement
violence to commit a crime.
So you're saying the incitement matters of who it's being delivered to? How does
setting certainly matters?
Okay. Touche. So how about a national broadcast on a national news media who's anyone can get this?
They can use the word
more.
Fight. Yeah,
that's
it's
more
in the English language.
That's more people than people at a rally. Right? No, but you're mad at that language when it's being used with people at a rally. So you laugh at it, yet you're mad at it when it's done at a rally. Yet it can be used on national media for millions of people to hear, and that's fine. That's laughable. So where's the difference? Where's the distinction?
Or again, Maxine Waters to literal protesters as they're carrying their pipes. Go
I
out.
mean,
for the not
Eli
for
is
me.
citing a better example. Oh, you said which?
Well, no, it would get there. It would get to Maxine Waters. But my point being, I'm on the side that both is silly. I don't look at this as Democrats inciting violence. Just as I didn't look at Trump saying "fight like hell" was inciting violence. I think it's both silly.
Yeah, but it was at a rally in front of a bunch of
this is
people
on national
that he was
news.
lying to,
Dude. Okay,
lying to
what
directly.
don't you get about
And
national
said,
media
"Walk to the
being bigger?
Capitol."
What don't you get about national
I don't
news?
know what she's talking about.
What
She could
don't-
be lying. She could not be lying.
But she has a bigger reach than Trump at a rally. She's on a national news network. It reaches millions of people. Trump at a rally was 500,000 people, maybe a million if you want to give him and be generous. But come on, people, this is on C-SPAN, this is on CNN, this is on NBC. How does that not reach more
it's on
people?
UFC too.
How does that not
And
reach?
it's on
No.
Cartoon Network.
But now, okay, so
Light
now you're
comes
going
up
against.
everywhere.
But now
It's
you're
a
going
word.
against your original thought. Now what you're defending is Trump's idea to say "fight like hell" because it's on UFC
I'm not
and
defending
everywhere.
his idea to say it. I'm saying that's what makes him criminal.
But the
That's what
UFC
makes him
says it.
guilty.
But the UFC says it. CNN says it. MSNBC says it. How does that make him guilty but not them? Where's
Because
the
of
logic?
the context, the set and setting. You're not having an honest argument about it.
Are they
None
having
of
an
these other
honest?
contexts are in a rally of people that they are lying to.
Please, gentlemen, freeze your thoughts. I know for a moment I'm going to exit Zoom and re-enter, okay? All right, keep going.
Let's keep going with the debates.
Please.
Debates.
She called the borders up because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said,
And Eli fucks up the
I'm
cameras
surprised you're
again.
not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've
Par for the
done.
course.
What about those people? What are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle? They went into Seattle. They took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand,
From a heart attack.
former president has been
suicide.
indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia, the president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63,
that's another
which is what I
thing
got
he
in
kind of should just give up
you
on.
can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about it. An election is fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders.
Tim Walls.
And we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
no
Republican.
Judge looked at it.
And said
they
there was
said
no
we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The President of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election.
He just manipulated what he said.
And yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump
misquote him
about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
I'm going to ask you guys right now. There's legit think there's 40 minutes left in this debate. Do we want to maybe skip some of the middle here? Like, how do we feel about, do you really feel like watching the whole debate right now? I mean, we've kind of done a breakdown. We're getting close to 4 hours
in the episode
to a 4-hour stream here.
Oh,
dear boy. You want to get up to the final 10 minutes?
I feel guilty skipping over everything just because, we're rushing it. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about your time.
What's the timestamp it's at right now?
Right now, it's at pretty much 2 hours, and it goes down to 1 hour and 20. So there's another 40 minutes left. So it goes from 2.00 to 1.20. So there's still 40 minutes. There's 40 minutes left.
I'll finish watching the rest later, but we could skip to the last 10.
We can finish. Let's go to the last 10. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I could dig that.
I say yay.
Let's see. So
I like that he was talking about focusing on now and how she tried to frame the chaos of then and conflating it with the chaos of now. I don't know, but whatever the case, I did clearly miss some stuff. But I'd love to continue to elaborate further on the rest of the debate on the next episode, which I hope is sooner than later.
So yeah, our apologies. We're gonna go ahead and skip forward just a tad. We're gonna watch the last about 10 minutes here. So
People, knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park Five, they said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. She's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Quick pause. Briefly. Quick pause. Is it not a statistical fact that our economy just seems to do better when Republicans are in majority in office? Is that true or false?
That's a myth, but
it's a myth. Okay, but
the reason why our inflation was so bad was because of COVID and all the government spending, and then the slow start back up. So
the Democrats pretend that it was all Trump's fault, not COVID. So but yeah, okay.
I think he's saying the government spending during COVID. So he's also pointing to Trump being fault for all the spending he did during COVID.
Anybody in that hot seat would have been damned if they did, damned if they didn't. There is no win. And I think he did as best he could given the circumstances. He did what the Democrats wanted with Operation Warp Speed. He didn't get credit for that. And every little thing that he didn't do, of course, he got roasted for that. So, Anybody
Certainly
else?
satellite worthy of roast.
I would have hated to see what Biden would have done.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes
Same as the last 4 years.
in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name-calling.
Could we pause real quick?
Yep.
Let's turn the page.
All of those things sound beautiful. But where the fuck is the money coming from when we have record levels of inflation within recent history, record levels of unemployment in recent history, record levels of income inequality versus cost of living? Like, where is this money coming from? We're in more debt as a country than we've ever been. Why are we taxing the rich? Why do you get punished for being successful? Is that not anti the American dream? What's the point of getting to the top if you just get fucked harder when you get there?
Because you're still at the top.
That's Stimmy's innovation, man. Punishing successful people, Stimmy's innovation, and ultimately, you think you're going to punish the rich?
Economy.
No, hoarding money is what helps the economy to the effect of if you're a business owner, right? If you're a large conglomerate business owner and you get taxed more, you're going to do budget cuts. You're going to do layoffs. You're going to, the small guy's going to eat the shit and the big guy's still going to have all the money. And you can't force it to work any other way. That's just the way that it works historically.
Yeah,
that's why the tech sector is so fucked.
It's just like the idea
that's what keeps separating us from the middle class and shrinking the middle class.
Right, but if we could make a constant correlation between layoffs and people losing their jobs and the rich being taxed more, why is the idea always to tax the rich more? Why is the idea that when the government messes up, the people have to be taxed more?
Because 90% of the held wealth is in their hands.
But did they earn it?
I mean, then you got people like Trump that are using tax dodges to pay zero in a calendar year.
But did they earn it?
If Trump can play that game for the United States benefit,
that game needs to change. No argument here. And it's a mess as it is. It's all a house of cards, our government. But yes,
so
the tax incentives need to change, especially for the ultra rich and the people that are hoarding the money.
I think that's a better way to say it, because I think the current rate of tax is fine. Like the current expectation for income levels is fine. Mm-hmm. I think the tax breaks are fucked, and people definitely abuse the shit out of that. So I would agree with removing all the tax breaks. I wouldn't agree with making the taxes any higher, because then that's what Stimmy's innovation. Because then I'm going to stay below that bracket now.
Something to your point, what about generational taxes, where the second generation of wealth has to pay a higher rate of tax than the person that earned it?
I don't agree with that either. I mean, if you set your family up, there should be
you already paid tax on the fucking shit, and they're making you pay tax again on it.
Yeah, I think if you already got taxed, you shouldn't get taxed again for the same thing you already been taxed on. I
don't know. I'm not defending the rich, though. I'm sure.
Yeah, but you don't have to say that. Tax. You don't have to clarify that statement by saying you don't think your money should get taxed twice. I mean, you don't have to defend the rich to also say you can get your fair share, but that's more than your fair share. Just because I've earned X amount of money that I'm going to pass down to the future, now you're going to tax in which you've already taxed. Like, that's stupid.
Yeah, now you're just going to tax it again. You already taxed the dead guy.
And that kind of negates and goes against the idea that the government is this just perfect spending machine that never spends improperly. So their flaws, the way they spend gets punished to us by them doing shit like that. By saying, okay, well, here's extra money going to come. Not, let's figure out what we're doing wrong first. Let's figure out how we can tax them more.
No argument there, and we could probably agree, disagree that neither side has that figured out.
No,
I share a bias about the rich. I've never been a huge fan, but I've slowly learned it's not right to just punish them because. But Joe, I do see your point. I have to concede to that at least.
Yeah, and I agree. Tax breaks do have to go, but I wouldn't take it much further than that because I think that's where we go into the realm of more government oversight, which I will never support.
Yeah.
And the 25K sounds attractive, but I think it would do more harm than good to the market.
That's the same thing.
And
houses would just go up $25,000.
Yeah, all right. So the 25K towards homes will only drive up the cost of homes, and her policy says nobody in the family
yes.
can have ever bought a home. Nobody in the family can have ever bought a home. So it has to be a first-time buyer of the family, which will not apply to nearly every American, but will for immigrants. This is going to favor immigrants.
You already get so many benefits as a first-time home buyer, though. Like FHA is what, like 1% down? Like you can't get that on a second or third home at all. Nowhere near it.
I got something like that for a first-time home buyer back in 2008.
I don't know if that percentage still stands. I'm sure it went up with inflation, but like it's still a lot more appealing than the other shit,
Welcome to any bushwhacking viewers. Feel free to drop a comment and engage. We're talking about the final remnants of the debate here, and I guess some of their closing statements. Continue.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She has a plan to defund the police. She has a plan
point
to
of
confiscate
unmuting the mics
everybody's
if you're gonna mute
gun.
them.
President Trump,
she
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until.
Shut up and kiss.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President Harris. President Trump, this is now your
I love he's like,
running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Correct. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And I said that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it, and we're going to replace it. But remember this. I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration.
A lot of
we
good
read about
people.
the bad ones. We had some real bad ones
people.
too, and so do they. They
got
have
the
really
best
bad
people.
ones. The difference is
Until
they'll get
they
rid of
say
them.
they
Let me
hate
just
me, then they're
explain.
the worst.
I had a choice to
They're
make.
huge.
Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But
I did
it's
the best
still
thing.
never going to be great, and it's too expensive.
It's the Shane Gillis impression. Like, it's the best way to do a Trump impression. It's like you go and you notice the thing, and then you repeat yourself noticing the thing. Like, there's a lot of people here. I walked in, I thought, wow, there's a lot of people here. That's exactly what he does. He just he says it, and then he repeats himself witnessing the thing. And then that's
Did you watch the Kill Tony?
He's
with
great
that?
at Kill Tony.
I saw bits and clips. I still want to see the full thing. Yeah. Shane
Dr.
Gillis
Phil and
crushes
Kill
it,
Tony.
yeah.
And then the Biden, yeah.
Shane Gillis crushes this Trump.
Speaking of crushing, let's crush the rest of this debate.
Hell yeah.
For people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up
I have
with
an idea of
something,
a
I would
plan.
only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that.
Like you can't
And
say
you'll
you
be
have a
hearing about
plan
it in
because
the
a plan's always going to be taken aback by the Democrats, whoever's, like in the House, the Senate, whatever. They're going to add what they, so like, here's what we can do. You guys add what you need to add to it. But, I have the beginnings of what could be a plan.
Yeah, we got something in the works.
Yeah.
It's in the pipe.
Listen,
9 years.
I said, let him cook. I walked in. I said, wow, there's a lot of cooks in here. I said, you should let these guys cook. There's a lot of cooks. They're cooking a lot of good things.
You know what, Josh? I firmly believe that would have been a wiser answer. He should have said, "We're cooking.
Yeah, we're cooking. We're cooking a lot of things.
Okay, let us cook.
Yeah, let us cook.
future.
No cap, straight bussing, okay?
On God, on God.
You supported Bernie Sanders' proposal.
On God. I walked in and said, there's a lot of gods here.
Government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point.
Oh, shut up.
The former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away.
Yeah.
Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history.
You go,
to know where
girl. You
people stand.
get him.
When Donald
You
Trump was
got him.
president,
Kill
60
shot.
times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night.
Of course
Walked
you
onto
won't.
the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no
With his little
plan.
brain cancer head,
And
he
what the
walked in there with a
Affordable
little
Care Act
patch
has
on his
done
head
is
like a
eliminate
boss.
the ability
I'm
of
voting
insurance
one last
companies
time.
to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight. You remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president,
I've had
and we
to deal
over the
with
last
that.
4 years have
You
strengthened the
what?
Affordable Care Act,
I know.
we have.
What's that?
I said I've had to deal with that. My ex-wife, when we got married and I got her on my insurance, they denied her bipolar disorder as a pre-existing condition and didn't want to pay for medication or her therapy.
That's so screwed.
Damn.
So screwed. Yeah.
I remember, who's that documentary guy from fucking back in the day? Michael.
I fought that and won, by the way.
Who's a big fat
Oh, Joe.
guy? Michael something. Yeah, it's awesome. Michael, he did some, Michael Moore, maybe? Fat guy with glasses. He did
Canadian guy.
Sounds like Michael Moore.
Yeah, he
Yep.
did like a documentary on like the healthcare system, and they're just
Yes,
like,
it was a good one.
they're
I
just like
watched
so
all.
inclined to trying to figure out how they can't help you out, and like I mean that's just been their MO fucking forever. Just like, how can we deny you and fucking not pay your fucking health insurance? Like, what pieces of shit these people are.
Yeah, and he had to take a bunch of people that needed it to Cuba to get better treatment.
have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that
She's
access
talking
to
white
healthcare
today.
should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Past is
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. but she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get. People are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place.
I thought the tariffs
what
are
they've
paying
done
for
to
everything.
business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have...
What's that?
I said, but I thought the tariffs are paying for everything.
Nothing, because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates in a historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia.
Check out that link whenever you want.
Let me see.
I'll tell you where to stick your link.
The closing statements are like maybe 6 minutes in total, like 6 minutes between Trump and Harris. Like that's what they split, so it's not long at all. You want to watch those? You want to call it?
Yeah.
Power through.
I mean, we're already here, you know.
Yeah.
After this,
let the lizard hydrate.
Baywatch is a fantasy. Baywatch was sex.
Hang on. Shut up with your Baywatch.
Pennsylvania. Here again, David Muir and Lindsay.
Here again.
And again.
David
And again.
Muir, and again. And again with the debate. David Muir.
Davis.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for closing statements. And Vice President Harris, we begin with you.
They are, really, actually.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
Which
But
ones?
we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now
You don't
vice
want to go
president.
down that
I only
road,
have
Kamala.
one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing
No,
I
you
ever
just fucked
asked
them
them,
regardless.
are you okay? And that's
You didn't
the
look
kind
into
of
a single
president we
complaint
need right now.
of your
Someone
department.
who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build
Especially
back
the
up our
illegal
country by
ones.
investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris,
I mean,
thank you.
she
President
seems
Trump-
legit. Like, she's better than
So he
Biden at
just started
speaking, I'll
by
tell you
saying
that
she's
much.
gonna do
Oh,
this, she's
100.
gonna do
Oh,
that,
yeah.
She's going to do all
He
these
doesn't set the bar
wonderful
very
things.
high, though.
Why
Yeah, no.
hasn't she done it? She's been there
She's
for
no
3.5
Obama, but
years.
she's
They've
good.
had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe
And you won't do
things
it.
like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it
What a
away
scare
to
tactic.
the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President
I don't
Trump,
want what's
thank
happening in the
you.
UK
And
to
that
happen
is
here,
our
so-
ABC News presidential
well,
debate from
just 'cause he
here
says
in
it's gonna
Philadelphia
happen
at the
doesn't mean
National
it will.
Constitution.
We were on a path to it.
That was notice.
We're on the same path they were.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the debate, boys. I'd like to point out he didn't slur one time. I don't know if you've heard any of the tapes that have come out the past maybe month or so, but like his interview with Elon Musk, he was really like slushing a lot of words, like
Oh, yeah.
or at least so that's
I
how
heard
it
that.
sounded. But it maybe does sound like it was just the audio because I mean he didn't do any of that here, and like
I don't think it was that bad.
No, he sounded good at least. I mean, he needed to.
yeah, and
but-
like the idea that people were saying that he had dentures, like yo, this dude is like a billionaire. Like he's just gonna get like veneers. Like he's not gonna have like these fake like teeth he pops in and out. Like dude, what? No, he's gonna like. I'm surprised he doesn't have like a gold grill. You know. Just because he's so.
I got the world's first mouth transplant, and I was like, "Wow, that's a really good mouth."
I walked
It's
in.
a
I was
great
like,
mouth.
"That's a lot of gold in that tooth. I'd like that gold. I'd like to see that gold." I said, "Wow, that's a lot of gold."
I'd expect a like a temporary grill more so from Kamala, depending on where she goes in the country.
Yeah, depending on where she's campaigning, it's like the Hillary Clinton hot sauce pander all over again, man.
Trump told a young rapper that he liked his grill and that he needed to get one of those.
I need to get one of those. They're really good.
I've seen a clip of that.
Well, he hasn't. Who knows? Maybe he did get one. He has fuck you types of money, so he could probably have one sitting on his desk that he never uses.
Remember when Lil Pump came on stage? Was like, "This is Lil Pimp." You call him Lil Pimp. He's a good guy. I love this guy. He's the best guy, Lil Pimp. But it's like I think his name was like Lil Pump.
We know a lot of little pimps out there. We got a country full of little pimps. Walked in and I was like, oh, that's a lot of little pimps.
My favorite's when he called Tim Cook Tim Apple.
Yeah, Tim Apple. Johnny Reebok was over here talking to Bill Nike. They were all getting together.
I think
Tom Coca-Cola.
So she really gets off on saying that he's a cynicist by acknowledging that things are bad now, and I think that's the wrong take. I think that's being a realist. Things do suck right now. People are suffering more so, and if she wanted to hear "Oh Kumbaya," well, I mean that's what she was more preaching.
She had 3.5 years to do the Kumbaya.
Yeah.
I'll give you that things do suck right now, but Trump's blowing it out with we're the worst country and we're almost third world and the world is laughing at us. Dude,
they are.
I've been the third world. We are not third world. The rest of the world is not laughing at us.
They absolutely are.
Who?
I think maybe some people who are trying to take over, our number one spot might be laughing at us, but not like
Russia was laughing at us.
China, Russia,
especially once they caught the scam with Tenant Media. RT responded with ha 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 ha.
You found us not for long. But even what's his name came out, Merrick Garland came out and said, they never made it known who they were working for, so these influencers they had no idea it was Russian backed. So that says something.
Josh, do you intend to vote?
Do I intend to vote? I don't know.
Adam, I think I know you said yes.
Trump.
Yeah,
Trump.
I told you what I didn't like about how Kamala's there and like the idea of this Obama, then Joe Biden, and then his president becomes vice president and their vice president becomes president, like that repetitious pattern of that Democratic side of things. Like that's just as bad as the Bush is getting in my opinion. It's like it's a family thing. So I don't like that. Yeah. And then I didn't like how, even though yes, the delegates, there was enough delegates after after the primaries, and she, by the time she hit the convention, she was the nominee. But just how that all happened and how he stepped down, but it was there's still 2 months left, but he's still the president, but he's not good enough to be the president after 2 months. So how come she's not the president? It all just feels really weird, and like I don't like how weird it feels. At least Donald Trump kind of feels like just a normal sleazeball.
Yeah, like there's some authenticity in being the sleazeball he is.
Yeah, the government.
When we do our fact checks, like when we see all the mainstream outlets doing their selective fact checks, I want to see more coverage on Donald Trump speaking the truth without any acknowledgement about the FBI statistics. They did not have the larger metropolitan areas in their criminal stats of violent crime. LA, New York, Chicago are missing from the stats that were presented. So they were all lying except for him. That's a big takeaway from today's performance for me. Still, he's the only one telling the truth. As unpoised and unprofessional as it may be, he's still telling the damn truth.
I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't as bad as Shamrock said it was.
Yeah, no. Well, she was just maybe she hoped for better. I don't know,
right.
But I'm glad it wasn't as bad either. It did
I think she may
certainly
have been
didn't lie like you did the first time.
And I think Kamala did great.
Questions.
I think Kamala did good. I think she was really
she did good.
She was really powerful, like she really didn't seem like she was skittish or like afraid. She just seemed like she was just at it. So
brother, she spent 2 weeks doing mock debates in a freaking hotel while Trump just, lounged with his advisors. So
she used to be a lawyer. Trying a case in court is no different than a debate.
Yeah. So
you got to keep your cool. Clearly and factually.
Why, Joe? I agree with you. Trump 2024.
Oh, he's gonna get plenty of speaking in court. Trump will.
All right. Well, we'll see. As you can see, another episode of Stuck at Night has returned. Hopefully, we can continue on this process. We had some presence on Rumble and on YouTube. It's good to see you guys, Josh, Adam, Joe.
Yeah, it's very fun, very fun. We shall do this again. I do enjoy, R.I.P. Panjo. Last time we did the Stuck. I feel like Stuck in the Middle is a perfect time to, perfect time for the debates, for like this new political turmoil. It does seem like we get a resurgence during this time. This is when Stuck in the Middle began last time. Around this era. So who knows if there becomes a second wind. But if anything, the debates were fun. It was fun being kind of a little part of history, or recording us watching history, I should say. So that was fun.
Yes, indeed.
Joe, thank you for
trying to
coming
watch
on.
It.
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesdays, man, is an availability I seem to have sometimes Tuesdays, but I understand Nothing Funny is on Wednesdays, so let's see if we could.
Yeah, we can figure out a
regular,
maybe a Tuesday type deal. But
and if you don't mind,
that Phoenix up from the ashes, shall we?
Real quick, Adam and Josh, Joe, I don't know your availability. How do you guys feel about like a once a month on the old PP channel?
Yeah.
I just want to keep getting people from there to come here.
PP, dude, PP,
Snag
bro.
me in as much as you want, brother.
All right, guys. I'm going to play Wukong and smoke more cigarettes because our current economy sucks.
Yeah,
everybody,
have fun.
Have a good night.
Yes, and thank you for hanging out, Joe. Thank you so much. Is there a place where people can find you, Joe? Or do you streaming yourself or anything like that?
It's my Twitter. Hold on.
In his home, in his boxers.
Having a good old time. And of course, Adam. What's up, Adam?
Yeah,
Shot
Adam.
Mahalo, dude.
Yep. That's the Adam we know and love.
Indeed.
No socials. I don't unplugged from that matrix.
No, you're not in socials anymore.
Okay.
No, sir.
I actually would love to have you on the channel to talk about that alone.
I quit video
And the,
games
hookup
and got
culture,
plugged
yes, sir.
into the matrix.
Joe, you got a Twitter? You want to say it?
I just posted in the chat. If you could just.
Yeah, we'll repost it in the description.
I can't share in the YouTube chat.
It's all good. We'll see y'all later.
All right,
Bye.
peace out, folks.